It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott's here, Mary Jo Foley. They didn't go to CES, but there were a lot of CES announcements. We'll talk about some of the new PCs and processors. Then about phones. Lots to say there. Mary Jo is very unhappy with her Pixel 6 Pro. Paul says, I'm using an iPhone. What? And some Xbox news, plus a chance for you to ask your questions. It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love
from people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 758, recorded Wednesday, January 5th, 2022. An encyclopedia of chipsets. It's time for Windows Weekly, the first show of the new year. Happy New Year to Mary Jo Foley, all about Microsoft.com. Happy New Year, Mary Jo.
Thank you.
Did you celebrate with champagne or beer?
Both.
Both. Mixing it up.
Mixing it
Paul
up.
Thurrott was probably doing a cocktail from the Stephanie Thurrott cocktail cookbook.
I think I celebrated with every form of alcohol, and I had a terrible next day.
New Year's Day is designed for one thing, watching the Rose Parade and 18 football games, 18 college football games.
And nursing a hangover.
Paul Thurrott, Thurrott.com. It's good to see you back in the saddle. We had a best of last week. I hope everybody enjoyed that. Trip back through memory lane. Now it's time to look forward. Mm-hmm. And we're not at CES.
No, we're not.
Luckily.
Yeah. Well, I say that every year, but this year especially. I'm grateful.
Agree.
Yep.
Father Robert went.
I can't believe he went.
Yeah.
I'm just stunned.
I have to give
really
this
am.
world credit for finding a way to make Vegas even more terrible.
Yeah. Why not, add a plague on top
Add a
of it?
pandemic right on top. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
But a lot of people went. Like I keep seeing people in my Twitter stream saying, I'm there. I went. And I decided
great.
to go.
Yeah, Father Robert
Great.
went.
I got to
It's
touch some
crazy.
things that other people touched. It's smart.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't feel like, I think this more than ever. I feel like there's nothing at CES I need to know. A lot of big companies just punted.
Yeah.
And then
Microsoft.
some did events, but like virtual events.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Are they enforcing like masks at this place, I hope?
I think they said you have to be vaccinated. But as we know, that's not going to prevent breakout infections or its spreading.
No.
So.
No.
All right.
I don't know if you guys watch New Year's Eve from New York, but they supposedly enforce masks at that. And
I didn't see a lot
every
of
single
them.
person I saw was not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
It was I thought there was a lot of mask wearing, but it was a much smaller event for sure.
Yeah,
It looked
way
big,
honestly-
but if you looked past like the first block, there was nobody. It was,
But that show, all those shows
was
are
empty.
so terrible now. We kept switching channels, and not that they were great in the 80s or something, but I mean,
No.
they're so much less interesting than they used to be, and so devoid of talented people.
Right.
Like I wish there was something decent to watch on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
We need a new tradition of some kind. I don't know.
well,
Yeah.
But there is some stuff we cared about out of CES.
You were
Actually,
saying, Mary
more
Jo,
than I thought.
Yeah, a lot of PC stuff,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
There is.
Right.
There is a lot of PC stuff. That's true.
Intel announced that they have the fastest laptop chip out there. If you don't mind, a little, heat lamp in your
Strum and drawing.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
It's a muscle car.
It's a new letter, isn't it? Some new letter
It's an
series
i9.
or something.
But is it? What's new about it? Is it?
I think it's.
Is it Scalder Lake?
What's new about it? So it's this
Calder.
big little architecture. So it has performance cores and efficiency cores.
Yes, that's right.
We're starting to see that.
Yeah.
It's 12th gen. So we're bringing the 12th gen to mobile. And we're also expanding the availability of 12th gen chips across desktop. There are new classes of desktop chips coming. I thought last year we got rid of the U series. If you look at all the naming schemes that Intel used for 11th gen, its U series is gone. And they said, no, we got more U series coming this year.
Those were just to refresh my memory. Those were the crappy ones.
Well, no, those are the mainstream ones that are on like Ultrabook. The U for Ultrabook. No, it's okay. Like most people, if you say what kind of chip do you have in your computer, I have an Intel chip. What they mean is a U series core CPU.
You know what I hear from a lot of people? I have an Evo because they've been advertising it like
people
crazy.
actually say that. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, because of the ads. Oh yeah, I got the Evo. But that's just a marketing term for a platform, right? It's not.
Well, you know what, though? That's interesting because an Evo PC is 2021 or newer for the most part, or very late 2020. 11th gen or newer. So, I mean, what they're basically communicating.
Yeah.
It's a set of specs, right? That's what it really is.
It's a promise is what I would call it. It's a.
Yeah.
Intel is certifying that this PC meets certain technological bars, one of which, by the way, is supposed to be 9 hours of real-world battery life or more. And I will say, in my testing of Intel-based PCs this past year, that figure was only met 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, battery life is really the big... And I guess that's...
Battery life is tough.
You know, when they say we're faster than an Apple M1, that's totally doable. Many desktops are, but the power...
What does faster mean, though? You dropped it out of a window and it fell faster? Like, what is...
But it gets hot and it uses a lot of power, and the thermals in laptops mean it probably won't be fast for very long, and on and on and on.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
So those
They
numbers...
need these little... Every year, look, the things you have to deal with are, this is the first ever Ultrabook, Chromebook, blah, 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 whatever it is that does something, you know.
Yeah.
And great. You know, and that's always, and there's a bunch of that stuff, by the way, this week. But yes, I mean, Intel is obviously smarting from the PR hit that came with the M1 stuff. And I think collectively as an industry, we should celebrate anything they do to try to counter that.
Oh, yeah. Competition's great. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, you know.
So they announced the 3rd generation Evo.
Right.
Oh, Evo.
Evo.
Yeah.
And that's along with the 12th generation Alder Lakes.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Project
And then
Athena, 3rd edition specification, target highlights. Instant wake, incredible performance and responsiveness. I'm looking at the slide, as you might guess from their presentation. Intelligence built across all platform levels. Battery life for the real world. No number there, just for the real world.
9 hours is the...
Lightning fast connectivity and innovative...
So it's Thunderbolt 4, well, USB 4 because it's Intel.
And 6E, which just got a...
and 6E wireless, that's right.
Greenlit by the courts.
Yep.
Okay, and then innovative and engaging form factor.
Yeah.
That's
so isn't
up to the eye of the beholder.
It is. But wasn't the new foldables thing they announced at the show part of Evo also, or am I mixing up 2 separate things?
I'm not sure, but
there was a
it could be. There's no reason.
spec.
Yeah, there's no reason foldables can't be Evo PCs, right? They could have those 12th gen processors, U series probably, 9 hours of battery life, Wi-Fi, 6E, et cetera, et cetera. There's no reason
part of the spec is a let me read this: sleek, thin and light, and 2-in-1 chassis designs with narrow bezels for more immersive experience.
Yeah.
I will say
2-in-1 is what you're talking about, right? Convertibles.
Well, there's also
she means a
foldables too.
What's a foldable?
Right.
Foldable like the foldable. I'm sorry, I can't say it. Foldable like the Samsung Galaxy Fold. You mean like that, or what? Foldable like what? Oh, so the screen actually folds.
Right, like ASUS just showed off this foldable PC at the show.
Lenovo
right?
released one last year. There's a ThinkPad Fold.
Yeah. That was supposed to run Windows 10X.
Kind of
that ended up running Windows.
Right?
It's impractical. It's
yeah,
and you know, Lenovo in particular is a company that has experimented with form factors in ways that are kind of interesting. Last year and the year before, actually, they shipped a ThinkBook that had an e-ink screen on the outside, so it's kind of like the world's biggest Kindle in some ways, but you can also blast the Windows display through there if you want, which is terrible, by the way. But that lets you run applications on the outside that maybe are note-taking or reading applications. And you can make the argument in the future that with Windows 11 and Android app compatibility, it could literally become a Kindle because you could run the Android version of Kindle on the outside of that thing. But it doesn't work very well. And then this year they released a 3rd generation ThinkBook. It's called a ThinkBook Plus. And this one has a tablet built into the wrist rest to the right of the keyboard. So it's a giant screen, normal laptop, and then a second screen down to the right, which you can use. You can write on it. You can tap icons. You can run apps down there if you want. It's a second display. And the innovation there, other than the obvious, is those two screens are available at the same time. With the ThinkBook Plus from previous years, you can only use one screen at a time, right? Because the other screen was on the outside.
Okay. We keep trying to remember this every show, but remember when Microsoft had that design where there was going to be a little panel on the outside of PCs?
Yep.
We can never remember what that was, but
yeah, it was okay. So I'm right on the cusp of what it was. This was in a Longhorn time frame.
Yeah.
It was an external display for like notifications and little email alerts and stuff. The prototype was an ASUS, which at that time ASUS didn't actually make PCs for people. They only supplied them to Dell
Reference
and there were
design.
VMs, whatever. Yeah, and it had it kind of stuck out. It was like someone had stuck a small display and they molded the outside of the lid around it. And it was probably called, what was that called?
Can't remember.
It's not Smart Display because that was another Microsoft thing.
Right. I know. We tried to remember this on another show. And
yeah. It didn't come to fruition.
This is the first form factor you're talking about, right?
This is the new one. Yeah, this is the newest version.
Plus Gen 3.
Yeah, so
it's like it has an Android phone embedded in the keyboard on the right, but it's not Android.
It's probably closer. Well, no, it's Windows, right? So it's probably a 7 or 8 inch tablet size deal. Is what it looks like.
Yeah, that's weird.
The other thing these guys are doing, although interestingly not on that computer, if you look at their new ThinkPads, they actually have a camera bump at the top, so they can accommodate a 1080p or maybe a 5 megapixel webcam, right? Because one of the big problems with laptops for years and years, despite the pandemic too, is you can only squeeze like a 720p unit inside those tiny bezels.
Right.
So they're starting to do that. And honestly, I think that's smart. I think that's something people
we're seeing that
want.
with phones. We're just
better than a
used to the
notch,
idea.
right?
Yeah.
Looks like the Legion also has
I found it. Auxiliary display. Remember that?
Interesting. What information do you have about it?
2008. Longhorn
2008.
auxiliary display. LCD panel on the outside of a laptop.
Yeah. I remember it. I mean, I have photos of it somewhere.
Same.
Like I totally remember this.
Yeah. Me too.
And
I remember Hillel Cooperman, right, was showing it off, I think. I don't know why I'm remembering that right now.
I got to tell you this now because I'm going to forget. I think I'm going to forget this, but I've spent a lot of time researching early .NET stuff for this thing I'm going to talk about later. And I found a presentation from 2001 called Managing Windows.NET. And do you know who gave that presentation?
Wow. Who?
Can you guess? Jeffrey Snover.
Hillel Cooperman. Jeffrey Snover. Wow.
Yep. Wow. 2001.
Wow.
So Windows.NET never happened, obviously. And
that was when they were naming everything .NET. Remember?
Yeah.
SQL.NET, everything. Yeah.
MSN.NET, Office.NET.
And just throwing it on there. It was like no reason, but everything was .NET.
Anyway, so I think in the early days of the PC, you had to have some other thing on you. We didn't have phones back then that made any sense like we do today. So people would carry around these little PDAs, or they carry around little devices of some kinds, little clamshell laptop-y things. And I had something, I think it was called Rex, which was credit card size. You could put it in your wallet. And the reason I bought it was because I'd be at CES or Comdex, and I'd try to open my laptop to find out where my next meeting was. Yep. And it took so long to boot up every time. I needed something more instant. And I think that's the use case that auxiliary display was trying to meet or, solve or whatever.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't matter. Now you could open your laptop. It would come right on because we have Evo PCs. They're awesome.
I saw that on the slide.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Wait a minute. Before we go through the brands, I guess we should step back a little bit because we were talking about chips.
Right.
AMD, some very cool looking chips. Yeah.
I would say I think the way to frame this is all three of the major chip makers in the PC industry announced something. AMD and Intel both announced their latest PC chipsets. In AMD's case, Ryzen 6000 series. This they don't say it like this. Why would they? But to me, this is a little bit like Evo for AMD, right? Because one of the things that's part of this is much better integrated graphics, which they say can play AAA games at 1080p. So kind of like, although that actually could be better than Intel has Iris Xe graphics as part of this Evo thing. And it is dramatically better. I wouldn't say it doesn't make it a gaming PC, but if you could actually play a 1080p game on what is essentially an Ultrabook, it's actually really exciting. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of interesting.
Plus, that same chip is the first Pluton chip.
That's actually a much bigger deal. So actually, maybe we should talk about that.
Yeah. So Pluton is something Microsoft talked about coming to Windows 10 2 years ago. And the idea was there would be this custom security chip that people could integrate with or even use as their TPM inside of a PC. And everybody got really excited about it 2 years ago, and then nothing happened at all, right? Nobody came out with the Pluton device until this week.
That's Microsoft in a nutshell.
It is pretty much, right? Yeah. So you hear all this big excitement about something. It's like, coming soon. And now, 2 years later, here's the first one. And it's a Lenovo device with this AMD Ryzen chip that is
just
integrating with Pluton, right?
Yeah. You're right.
Please.
The incredible thing about this to me is 2 years ago, like you said, Intel, AMD, and Qualcomm all agreed that they would integrate this chipset into their SoC. So this is not a separate chip that ships on a PC. It's actually integrated into the microprocessor, essentially.
Right.
Or onto that SoC where the microprocessor is.
Yeah.
So, it's taken a while, but now we see AMD has done this. Yeah. And Intel just announced new chips, and they didn't talk about this. It's kind of weird.
They didn't. Yeah, that was weird, right? Because everybody thought Intel would be the first one to implement this, of course.
Yeah. I mean, you can argue Intel has bigger problems at this point. But,
right. Yeah. So the first devices that will have Pluton in them will be these new Z series Lenovo devices that are coming out this May if they ship on time. So it's been a while, but
and that's
here
a new
come,
line
finally.
of ThinkPad from them, right?
Mm-hmm.
God, I can't keep track of ThinkPad lines like I can't keep track of Intel processors.
Names.
But Z series, I sort of take it to be the new high end for the non-workstation line. I think there's a 13 and a 16-inch version. They're gorgeous, obviously.
Very. Yeah.
But AMD based. I mean, I think I don't want to say all.
I think they were only I think they're only AMD based, right?
But I think previous ThinkPads were only Intel based, but maybe
Intel based. Yep.
Maybe they're one or two.
No, I think they were.
Okay.
They did. Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like
Pluton
they must have somewhere.
It's made up. I mean, it doesn't sound. It sounds like a bad science fiction name.
This is like a 1950s atomic monster movie. Pluton.
Yeah.
Pluton.
We dropped the Pluton bomb, and now that crab thing over there is like 50 feet tall, and it's killing San Diego.
Is it the successor to Athlon? Is that the idea? It's Athlon Pluton?
No, so Pluton is a Microsoft thing, and the very first place, the first place it showed up, this is super interesting, was in Azure Sphere. Azure Sphere is the Linux microcontroller thing that Microsoft built.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's where Pluton came from. Then it went into Xbox, I believe. Right.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. You are right.
Look at me talking about Xbox. This is a new year, people.
Look at you talking about
that was
chipsets.
AMD. So
no, you're
I
right.
know. Me talking about chips, that's scary because I'm terrible on remembering which chip is which. But so they pioneered Pluton first in Azure Sphere. Then they brought it to Xbox. Then they were like, okay, let's bring it to PCs, right? So this is a Microsoft invented thing.
Right. Next, it will be in Duo 3. Why not? We'll just keep moving it down market.
Right? Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see if the kind of security benefits it actually does bring, because they're basically promising the moon with this thing, right? They're like, it can make PCs more hardened against attackers, even if they have the PCs in hand. I'm like, really? How? Like, what? How? What's this going to do?
It's also an air fryer when you're not using your PC.
Kind of, right? Yeah, it does everything. It shakes, it bakes.
Whether you want it to be or not.
Right.
Well, at least in
and
Intel.
The way
I don't know.
The way they described it in the blog post this week when they were talking about Pluton again was it can be your TPM if you want it to be, or it can integrate with other chips. Like it doesn't have to be the
sounds like
thing.
a country
right?
song. I could be your TPM if you wanted me.
This is something I would like Steve Gibson to look at this, because this is something I don't quite understand. I will give you my mile-high stupid view of security, which is, TPMs are isolated on the motherboard. That's part of the deal. So there must be some advantage to tying this into the SoC while maintaining security boundaries. I know, for example, I don't remember the way they brand it. Maybe I do. Touch on chip, something on chip. Lenovo uses a brand or a style of fingerprint reader where the security chip is built into the fingerprint reader and it's not connected to anything else.
Yeah,
so you roll your finger.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it stays right in the chip.
The idea is a secure enclave implies hardware, but I guess not.
Yeah. In what case?
It implies that there's a physically isolated place.
Yes, right. So in the case of Pluton, this thing is hardware, but it's in a SoC. And I know not everything on an SoC.
So there is a hardware component. It's not just...
Yeah, those definitely... It's hardware. That's what's interesting about it. Well...
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there would have to be, right?
Right. So... I'm looking back at Azure Sphere when they first talked about Pluton, and they called it an onboard security subsystem. That's how they described it, right? And
that doesn't necessarily mean hardware, though. Now I'm wondering. Now I'm doubting myself.
It doesn't. Right. But they said they had to have a chip for it, and the first Azure Sphere chip, was MediaTek. So
it must be a little something. Because it's like air gapping. You kind of, I think you want it not running in RAM. You don't want it running in user space. You want it running in its own private place.
Yeah. This is, I mean, like I said, my very basic understanding of this kind of stuff. But I guess we'll have to learn more about this. Well, Steve I'm sure Steve is going to look at it.
As Rodney in the chat room says, it implies security.
It's implies, yes. Well, it's a little more explicit than that. But it's a security. Yeah, I think of it as a security chipset. I mean, maybe I'm being overly simplistic, but I don't know.
Well, they called it a subsystem, but that can mean a lot of things, right?
It implies hardware. It could be software. I'll ask Steve, but I bet you that's hardware.
Okay,
it's got to be.
Great.
I mean, I think they can, because TPM, AMD said, well, we can do TPM, but I got the feeling it was kind of like in software, and
there is a software version of TPM, I believe, isn't there? Like eTPM or something, or
maybe.
I think so. I don't know why I keep talking about security. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
I know. I'm like, I don't have any idea on that.
I think there is.
Why should you be any different than any other idiot?
Exactly.
Exactly. Hold on. Let me tweet this.
In fact, that's what makes you good and special. I got no idea. I don't know.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah,
Let me tweet something.
I'm okay admitting that.
Let me argue with someone when I have no idea what they're talking about.
I don't know if it's secure. Sounds secure. But when you say, no, it's got to be secure, it says so on the label. That's,
It feels more secure.
Feels that way. Feels secure.
So that's very interesting. Like I said, I find it as interesting that Intel did not announce this, but whatever.
Same.
There was nothing from Qualcomm. Well, there was a very small thing from Qualcomm at the show, but before we get to that, Microsoft had a post about Qualcomm and Windows on ARM PCs. I thought, okay, good. There must be. I was briefed by most of the big PC makers. I didn't hear about any new Windows and ARM devices, and the post literally just reiterates what Qualcomm announced a month or two ago. There are no new PCs, so that platform is just moving forward. But they announced something else.
Right. Then they announced. This was the whole way this was announced was bizarre, right? Qualcomm put out a press release saying, by the way, we've renewed a partnership we have with Microsoft to work together on AR extended reality chips. And we're going to work together on lighter weight AR glasses in the Windows ecosystem. I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. How did that announcement just go so low key? And Microsoft didn't even announce it. It was Qualcomm who announced it. Right?
My only guess is that it's so far off from happening.
Yeah, that must be it. Right?
I mean, when you say, for example, you're a company, you make AR goggles, which is what we have now. These gigantic things you stick over your head. Obviously, the goal is to get to glasses.
Lighter weight devices.
Now, the marketing people don't want to talk about that, but obviously, that's the goal.
Microsoft's not usually shy about pre-announcing stuff years in advance, let's just say.
Well, no, right. But I mean, Microsoft has a mixed reality ecosystem of sorts. There's a couple players in there with hardware that, whatever.
Sure.
And those are gigantic headset things. And then obviously they make HoloLens, which is a true AR solution, which is very expensive and is, a headset. So
and also has a Snapdragon in it, which I forgot, but it does.
That's right. The second gen one, right? I think
second generation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Look at you. You're just like you're like an encyclopedia of chipsets.
I'm scaring myself right now. Usually I'm just like, I don't know.
What's going on? Now she's going to be talking about like the year different Call of Duty games came out and how they differ from each other.
Let's not get carried away.
I think we all know that, Paul.
No, but this announcement was so low key and so strange. And then it says, and we're working together on both consumer and enterprise stuff in the metaverse, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? This is a pretty big announcement that nobody seems to have known in advance.
Oh, and we should say, and specifically called out for these will be solutions for both consumers and enterprises.
Yeah, right.
Right.
That's what I just said.
So,
yeah.
Oh, did you? I'm sorry.
That's okay. You don't listen to me. That's fine.
Also, just came to me. Could be a solution for consumers and enterprise.
It could be, you guys. It could be.
I'm so
just saying, you may have heard that somewhere.
When I do that to my wife, she says it's not true until a man says it. So I'm sorry. I'm sensitive to that. I'm sorry.
No, you know what? I was so stunned by that one line because. Again, at Microsoft, they started out with HoloLens being for consumer and enterprise, quickly realized it was an enterprise thing.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about consumer and enterprise again. I'm like, wait, look at this.
But I think that suggests a product that's more appealing to consumers, both from a form factor and a price perspective, right?
True.
It doesn't HoloLens cost, what, $3,500 or something?
$5,000? Yeah, $5,000 or something if you get the kit.
Okay, so it's a lot of money.
It suggests to me that they see Apple coming and they think we better.
Me too.
This is our space. We better make sure that we
agree.
But Apple's, the rumor is it will come out this year, but it will be a developer edition that will be around $3,000. So it's not going to be consumer.
The goal doesn't have to be to beat Apple, whatever that means. The thing I think we all understand about Apple's product, whatever it's going to be called and whenever it hits, is it will work with Apple. So there's always going to be a market for this
in the Apple ecosystem. $3,000 is not a big deal, right? Like a lot of people are like, it's fine.
But it's not a consumer product.
I don't know. Apple people.
I know. Apple people are weird. I know.
You guys.
The $3,000 thing doesn't bother me.
Anything.
It's the $600 for the rack you hang it on the wall. That's
the special cleaning cloth for it. Don't forget that.
Gotta have that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. I just think I don't think this is something like you're saying, and I doubt it's imminent. But the fact this even went out with a Microsoft quote in it, and the guy quoted from Microsoft, by the way, is the guy who came to Microsoft from Apple, who had been working on
by the way,
Apple
I
Watch.
thought that was weird too. I was like, who is this guy? I see a quote from Microsoft. I'm like, this is going to be Alex Kipman.
Me too. I looked it up. I'm like, it's the guy who used to work at Apple.
I had this exactly thing went through my head. Yep. Yeah, Microsoft Vice President. I'm like, who?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't know?
It was
his name. No. That's funny.
No.
Yeah, I didn't know his name. I forgot. I think we knew he went to Microsoft, but I forgot. Yeah. And now it turns out he's working on the AR VR stuff at Microsoft.
Okay.
No,
are you talking about Alex Kipman?
No, we're saying it wasn't him. That's what
wasn't him. Oh, I see.
Ruben.
That's who.
What was the guy's name? Ruben something.
I'd have to look it up. I don't remember.
Yeah, because Kipman has been the face of this.
Oh, yeah,
right.
Sure.
Alex Kipman wasn't even mentioned in this thing at all.
No.
Maybe he went back to Brazil.
Nah, he's still there. He's still there.
My website would work, I would tell you.
After the HoloLens, we're all dancing around the fire Burning Man thing, maybe they thought we'd give Alex a little time.
Alex, last
they
time I
brought
saw
that
him, he was at the bottom of the ocean.
That still seems to be a plan that's a go for 2022, the dancing around the campfire
Ruben
thing, guys.
Caballero.
That's
Ruben
not his
Caballero.
real name.
That's his real name.
It's an awesome name.
Who used to work at Apple on Apple Watch and a lot of other consumer products at Apple, and then came to Microsoft.
Corporate Vice President Engineering. He was the founder and leader of Wireless Design and Technology Group at Apple.
I mean, I think you see a lot of executives going in that direction.
That's a big deal at Apple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's the guy quoted talking about these new glasses coming with the joint jointly developed processor
Interesting
from Microsoft and Qualcomm.
acquire. He was the product leader for Apple TV and airport devices, both of which are kind of not going anywhere.
This is like the same thing. They're both kind of on the edge. You know? Hey, look, they both have Apple logos on them. That's all I'm saying.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Interesting. Named one of the most 20 most influential Latinos in tech in 2018 by CNET.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, maybe these things, going back to the glasses, Windows mixed reality headsets, those things went nowhere, right? Do people even make those anymore? Right? No. Right?
Last we heard, I think, was a year to a year and a half ago when Samsung, I think, came out with a version that had a higher resolution display on each side.
Right. That's right.
And and it was, I think that was kind of it. I mean, actually, when Microsoft announced Flight Simulator before they released it, so it would have been over a year ago, HP announced a mixed reality headset that was going to be compatible with that, and it was high resolution as well. So I'm thinking it's been over a year since we've seen anything.
So maybe this is the replacement for that. They didn't say they're Microsoft glasses. Nobody said that in any of the quotes. Like, they avoided saying this would come from Microsoft. It sounds like it's in the Windows ecosystem, but they didn't say this is the next version of HoloLens or anything like that. They didn't even imply that.
I hope they release this thing because you need to be the glass hole from asshole.
Exactly. Mass holes are glass holes. For people who don't know, listening to the show, mass holes, we both can say this because we're both in Massachusetts. That's the endearment term if you're from Massachusetts.
It sure is. Yep.
Yeah.
Sure is.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I was just surprised about that announcement. It was very low key. Microsoft didn't even mention it on their website.
I know.
Which was
I went looking for it. I thought,
me too.
Surely Microsoft will have
they didn't
an
announce
announcement as well. Nothing. Yep.
No, nothing.
Nothing at all.
So yeah, either like you're saying, it's way, way out there, and they're just like, we're not even going to talk about this yet, or it's closer than we think, and they're waiting to have more details to share.
I think it's too far out. Yeah, I think it's far out.
I would think so, but who knows? Who knows? Yeah, so I thought that was a big announcement. Like you said, the 3 chip vendors each had something. Qualcomm didn't have any PCs, but they had this, which was kind of like, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, and then, I mean, of the, Acer, ASUS, Dell, HP, Lenovo all announced a bunch of it. HP announced what looks like about 115 computers across, commercial, consumer, workstation, and gaming. So it's kind of confusing. I think some of the standout stuff includes Dell. There's a new XPS 13
Plus.
that has Plus. Thank you. It was like some 13 something.
Man, that thing looks beautiful in pictures, at least.
Yes, like edge to edge, really minimalist design. Looks beautiful. HP has a new version of the Dragonfly with a 3x2 display, which is
and it's a clamshell laptop. Yes, let's go back to what works.
Yeah, very interesting. And then Lenovo has, it's just a ton of stuff. It's crazy.
They had a ton of announcements.
Z series, which is the first Pluton-based PCs. Although, if Pluton is just part of this AMD chipset, which I assume it is, that suggests that any company releasing PCs based on that should have the Pluton capability, right?
Pluton is part of the foldable AMD chipset. I'm just thinking of new ads we could do for it.
Marriage.
There's so many ads.
I should get a Windows PC. Do you see anything in this that you really think?
Get the new Dell. Get that new
touch
Dell.
bar?
I want somebody to
Thank
get
God
that.
somebody has a touch bar. Boy, I miss my touch bar.
I don't know.
Yeah,
give it a
the
look.
touch bar, no. But the keyboard looks
I've
beautiful.
always liked XPS machines, though. I've always been very happy.
I always have the same reaction to anything like this. I'll see a beautiful 13-inch laptop, and I'll think, God, could you make a 15-inch version of this thing?
Well, they will eventually.
I like the 13.
They do XPS 13.
Yeah, they do.
15.
They even have a 17. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, 13 is what you want for portability, though.
28-watt, 12th generation Intel Core. Glass trackpad now replaced with a seamless glass touchpad with haptics. I'm sorry. Where is it? It's not. I don't see it.
No, you have to press something to make it show up, don't you?
So this whole thing is a display? Is that?
I don't think so. I think this is the touchpad in the middle there.
Oh, interesting.
Which you can't see until you
find
touch it.
some other pictures.
Yeah.
Let me find some pictures.
Yeah, see if there's an actual shot of it. Comes in 2 colors.
2 colors, black and
Yeah.
green.
When is this shipping? Allegedly.
With spring, and the price is TBD.
It's just
so
like an XPS. I mean, it doesn't.
yeah, it does. It's just when you open it, you're like, oh, look at this thing. It's kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks really
I like the
modern
edge to,
and
yeah, I like the
futuristic.
edge to edge thing that lets you have full size keys, bigger keys,
Yeah.
keycaps, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're liking this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
Here's
the people are
touch
going to
bar.
look.
I see. Wait,
I can
up
tell
at
you
the
this-
top, this part.
Sorry.
I see what's going on.
Yeah, that's okay.
That lights
This
up,
part
right?
lights up. It's not real keys. See, this
Right.
killed me because it's not
So
good.
this will switch between function keys and the multimedia whatever
Yeah.
keys. I think that's the
Yeah.
there's still a function toggle.
Yeah. Okay.
I know.
I mean, I'll jury's out. I use
Yeah,
the
right.
escape
How
key.
does it
I'm
really
one of
work?
those weirdos. That
I'm
uses
trying.
the-
So I literally my first reaction to this was, do I actually use function keys? And the answer is actually I do.
for volume.
I
though,
used-
more, right?
Well, I use them. No, I use them for like Alt F4.
Yeah, Windows really likes.
a lot.
That's true. Windows really likes.
Yeah.
I use
They
F2
do.
for rename when you select a file.
Yep. Refresh
I don't know.
F5.
I mean,
I'm a little.
Yep.
I'm a little worried about no spacing between the keys. Like, how is that going to be?
Yeah.
You know.
I think it's okay. I think it's like you're hitting the middle anyway. So if there were spaces, your fingers are still going to the same place. Maybe.
But I'm as a
That's
touch
not really-
typist, I'm like,
Yeah.
is that going to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
weird?
No, I know. Yep. I'm interested to see it.
So
Yeah.
this is why you go
Same.
to CES so you could touch those things.
But then you don't want to
Or I
touch
just
it. And
wait a
everybody
few
else in
weeks.
their sister and brother has touched
Yeah,
it.
right. The
Just, I
size
don't-
is
you know.
good. This is from The Verge's video about it. Look how small it looks. Really
Yeah.
looks
Yeah.
compact.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I always get nervous when I see things like that,
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's no trackpad. It's just part of the chin rest, whatever you call that, the elbow rest. The elbow rest. Oh yeah, that's it. That's the part of the body you put there. The elbow. No, the wrist rest. Wrist rest.
Yeah.
Now people are very particular about arrow keys. I've noticed writing
Oh, yeah.
reviews,
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's going to be a lot of people see that, and it's not a T shape,
not a
and they're going to be
T?
like, "Yeah, can't do it, can't do it."
Yeah.
And actually, that's a fair criticism. I mean, there's little arrow keys are kind of tough.
Yeah. And
Also,
you
the other
use
thing
those a
that's
lot.
missing is dedicated home and end keys, which I use all the time. And I don't like when they're only function.
Keyboard's important. That's the
Yeah.
thing we really spend a lot of time with.
If you do type a lot, you're going to be very particular about it for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a beautiful little computer.
Yeah.
It is. It
elegant.
looks pretty.
It's
It
elegant.
looks very
Yeah.
pretty.
I would look at the Dragonfly Gen 3 as well. That's the HP. That's a HP Elite Dragonfly. It's always been beautiful. It's a great computer.
I think I told
now
you
it's 3x2.
I didn't like the Dragonfly, and I really thought that would be my ideal device.
Now, why?
It just
What was
didn't
it
work out.
that you didn't like about it?
The battery life was terrible for me, really terrible. And
Yeah, but Mary Jo, so the problem is most laptops are not optimized for Notepad, and I don't know. You would think.
you would think I would get the
maybe-
best battery life of any Windows user,
Yeah.
right? Wouldn't you
Yeah,
think
that's
that? Also, remember they said that the external casing had something that was supposed to be anti-fingerprint. Every second I looked at this thing, my fingerprints were all over it. And I'm like, wait,
Oh, interesting.
what the heck?
So it's magnesium. It's magnesium base. The
Yeah.
first two versions, I think, were that kind of dark blue color. I think with the
They were.
Max,
Yep.
they came out last year as a black version, and I think this year they're doing both colors again.
I love the color. I love the weight and the
Yep.
size. But then when I actually tried to use it, I'm like, oh, no, this isn't for me at all.
That's
not
too
in
bad.
the
See, I
least.
really like the keyboard on that thing. Beautiful.
Yeah. I'm excited they made it a clamshell laptop, though, because as you know,
Yeah.
as I said to
Yep.
Dan Rubino on Twitter this week, my lapability crusade has not ended just because it's a year.
You know, I've been meaning to tell you something along those lines.
Yes.
You and I wouldn't call it an argument, but you and I had, over the years, have debated many times the merit of having like a touch screen on a laptop.
Yeah.
And I've always kind of
Yeah.
taken the stance like, look, it's one of those things that's there. It doesn't hurt you if it's there. And, you know, you'll find yourself kind of blah, 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 whatever. And I got to say, like, as the years have gone on, I'm actually starting to appreciate a laptop not being touch, because it sort of keeps it into the realm that I prefer to be in, which is just work, and writing on the with the keyboard.
No temptation to play Minesweeper with the touch screen.
No,
you don't need it.
No.
Yeah, so a lot.
You guys are
recently,
both. You're going to be horrified when I tell you the next thing I did this holiday. I shut off Windows Hello on all my PCs because I think it's terrible.
Yeah.
Wow.
You don't like it that
Doesn't
you open
work.
it up and it says, it sees you? You were using the Hello with the camera?
Yep.
And it didn't work for you, huh?
All right, let me.
A lot of times it fails. And it was just so frustrating. So I just shut it off, and I'm so much happier typing a password in.
I very much prefer a fingerprint reader if it's available.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can just type in a pin.
I don't
right?
think
That's
I
not a
have
big deal.
fingerprints.
Something about the screen in the Duo has erased my fingerprints.
Yeah, that's wrong,
I feel like I've tried fingerprint readers, and I'm like, why doesn't this work?
So some PC makers, at least HP certainly, and Lenovo has been talking about this with their CES stuff. So I'm not sure if this existed before, it's new, whatever, but are adding on to Windows Hello with like person detection type stuff. So it will actually, if it sees you, if it detects a person is coming, it will wake up the screen. And then when it detects it's you, it signs you in. So it works with the Windows Hello. And it does it in the reverse as well. If you walk away from the screen, it will sign it off.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to speed up that process. And it's not something I use. Like I don't want facial recognition because I want sign in to be explicit. There's many times I sit down in front of my computer to do something else. I don't need this thing on, but it kind of pops on. I don't like that. That's just my little pet peeve. But
I've trained it, retrained it, trained it with glasses, without glasses, dark light, brighter light. And I just keep retraining it. I'm like, and it still doesn't work. Like, why?
I mean, I don't use it a lot, so I'm surprised it doesn't work better. But.
Yeah, and I'm kind of am like you that I'm like, I don't want to have to make sure I'm looking at exactly into my camera or like it sees me or I'm ducking around. I'm like, what's wrong with typing in a password? I know we're supposed to be passwordless, blah blah blah, but it works.
That happened with my phone today. I was listening to a video, so the screen went off, and I tapped the screen so I could sign in to do something, and the phone was still sideways. And I'm, looking at it like I had to turn the phone.
Face
to have
ID
it
is
in.
far from.
Yeah.
If your fingerprints
Workable.
worked, Mary Jo, you'd prefer probably fingerprint.
I would.
Yeah.
I would.
I really like Windows Hello fingerprint a lot.
I think fingerprint's my personal choice, but I have.
I know.
Yes.
I've tried it on the HP that I have because it has a fingerprint reader, and I'm like, it sort of half works, half doesn't work. I don't know.
Did you work on a steam laundry for years or something? I mean.
No, you know what?
This is when
the
last 2 inches of her lap were shaved off.
No,
and then,
I cook a lot. No, I cook a lot. And if your finger's even a little bit damp and you try to use a fingerprint reader, it just is
no,
nope.
you can't. This morning, same thing. My fingers were a little wet. Couldn't do anything with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why it's
that's
nice to have both Face
Is that why
Yeah.
Face ID doesn't sign in when I'm crying?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Your cheeks are wet, Paul. I think you should have both. That's it kind of bugs me that they say, well, you got Face ID, you don't need Touch ID, or you've got fingerprint.
No, you should absolutely have both. Especially in this era with masks and whatnot.
Well, that's right.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's right. I think biometrics are good.
I do too.
But if you don't have fingerprints and you cry a lot,
You're in trouble.
Well, if you use a Windows computer, you probably do cry a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why you stick with passwords.
Well, that's always the fallback, right? You always have that.
It is.
Yeah.
The pin is the minimum, I think we would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or pinimum, as we call it.
Pinimum.
Yes.
Nice. It's like P interest, pinimum.
The pinimum.
the PN that you use to sign in.
So remind me. I'm sorry. You probably think at this moment that Leo just doesn't pay any attention, but I have been. But I'm still in Pluton.
You're going back to Pluton.
What is it? Pluton.
So there's Evo. Is Pluton the version? Microsoft's Evo?
No.
It's a security
It's
platform.
just about security. Yep.
Which is funny because Microsoft's the one that said you can't have Windows 11 without TPM 2.0.
That's right.
So Pluton doesn't supersede TPM.
It can replace your TPM, right?
Is it better than? I'm sorry.
Is it a
Is it
superset
better?
of
Who
TPM?
knows?
I know. It's
So in
I'll ask
Microsoft's
Steve. I will.
blog,
I'll ask Steve.
all right, Microsoft's own blog from yesterday,
Yeah.
Microsoft Pluton is a security processor, is what it says.
Okay, so that sounds like hardware. So
The
it
other
sounds
thing-
like a
the other way-
secure enclave. Kind of.
when Microsoft brought this to my attention, which I'd already seen from the Lenovo thing, or
Yeah.
actually from the AMD thing. All three companies told me about it, whatever. The Microsoft email that I got was basically just a one paragraph thing. And it pointed me to the blog post they wrote a year and a half ago, whenever it was, describing Pluton. Like they really
Right,
didn't have a
nope.
lot of new information.
But here's why we're confused. When they first announced Pluton years ago, I think they called it a platform for running firmware, right? They didn't call it a chip at that time. So
Why
I think
we're really getting bogged down in this.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Now I'm going to look it up. Thank you.
So I'm going
Yeah.
to take
For
this
doing this to me.
opportunity because I think this is a good point to mention this, to say that because the today's show is so scant on detail, we're going to give you all a chance to ask your questions. If you're in the IRC or the Discord chats watching the live show, prepare. You may have questions like, as I do, about Pluton.
Oh, please ask a lot of questions about Pluton. We're poised to answer those questions.
Let the Pluton questioning begin.
As a bit of background, Microsoft did partner with microprocessor makers back in the early 2000s when they created TPM.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was an
And that-
Intel Microsoft deal.
That was the big controversy about Longhorn.
Right.
You know, in the same
Right.
way that product activation was the big controversy about Windows XP,
Right.
they announced this, and of course, all the Linux guys were freaking out.
Well, I'm
'cause
not
they're
going to be able to
this is
install
how-
it. And it has.
This is how they keep
Yeah.
us
It
off
has,
of
to be
PCs.
fair, it has added a little soupçon of incompatibility with Linux, but most of us know enough. Just turn it off, and everything will be fine.
So this is what Microsoft said when they first announced Pluton. They said TPM is so successful that hackers are working around the chipset to find other ways to exploit PCs, including the bus interface that sits between a PC's CPU and the TPM. And that's where Pluton comes in because it's integrated onto the, I keep saying SoC. I in some ways, I feel like it's not physically isolated.
Die.
It will be integrated directly into the PC's microprocessor.
Okay.
Its firmware will be updated through
It's
Microsoft through Windows Update.
it's in the SoC. That's fair. I think that's
Yeah.
the.
It'll
There's
work
a
in the
nice.
same way that-
If you guys look on Twitter, Taro
yeah.
Elhonen just tweeted us a nice
right.
picture.
That's where I get all
There
the
you go.
information.
Exactly.
That's how I.
Right.
No, this is Microsoft's picture, and it shows Pluton security processor with Microsoft firmware interfacing with SoC security subsystem. Right.
Right. The first Pluton
And it's-
based PCs were expected in 2021.
Yeah. So they're only a little late.
Okay.
1 year.
All right.
Yep. Yep.
So anything else at CES before we? Oh, I
Yes,
guess there
one more
was.
thing.
Okay, well, hold on. We want to pause so that everybody can absorb the goodness.
Our
of,
genius about TPMs and
Pluton. Yeah.
SoCs and Plutons.
Yeah.
Yep.
and now
Now that 1 second has passed.
on we
Yeah,
go.
so
This
this-
is more CES stuff, right?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
came out of nowhere in some ways. At the bottom of a Google blog post, they said that the Android team is now focusing on building for other platforms like Windows, whether it's in gaming, productivity, or other areas. So here are the 3 things they kind of spat out that were coming. When you connect your Android phone to your Windows PC with Fast Pair, you'll be able to quickly set up Bluetooth accessories, sync text messages, and share files with Nearby Share. Now, if you use a Chromebook today, that might sound very familiar because they have something, I believe it's called Phone Hub, that's built into Chrome OS, which kind of does this stuff. You can use the the web app version of Google Messages to send and receive text messages on your Chromebook. You can use Nearby Share, which is a new feature. I think it just came out a couple of months ago, or a month or two ago, on Chrome OS, to share files between Android devices and Chromebooks. And they're never working with Microsoft, by the way. This is what kills me. Google, are working with Acer, HP, and Intel to bring these experiences to select Windows PCs later this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm a little bit excited about this because, as people on the show know, I haven't had good luck with Your Phone. I feel like Your Phone was designed, but Microsoft's Your Phone app works well with Samsung, doesn't work with other Android phones outside of Samsung, right? So
It's
if
never
this
worked well, in my
fast pair
opinion,
thing,
right?
no, if this fast pair thing works, that's what I'm going to use for sure. Right. I don't care if it's from Google. Like, as long as it connects my PC and lets me see files, messages, blah, blah, blah. Great.
Nearby Share is good. We have something
Yeah.
like that in Windows that nobody uses, but I often I'm sitting there with my phone and I need to get something on my computer. Apple has solved this problem. Obviously, they own the whole ecosystem, so that's great. If you're using a Mac and an iPhone, you're all set. But in the Windows world, most Windows users use either iOS or Android, I guess, or literally. Those that use Android, the integration points are pretty slim. And yes, you can use your phone in Windows 10 or Windows 11, but it doesn't work very well. I often just make sure that, I may want to get a photo that I want to put in an article. So I'll take a picture with my phone. I'll make sure it syncs to Google Photos. So I'll just go to Google Photos on the web, download it from there, which is kind of a crazy multi-step process, but it would be kind of neat if you could just send it to the computer.
It would be.
I believe that's how this will work at some point.
So how is it going to interface with what is it called? Google Messaging or Google Messages or
Google
whatever
Messages,
you use
yeah.
now?
Messages, yeah.
That works great also with the PC, right?
Yeah, that works. Yeah, it works better than your phone if you want to do text messages.
It does.
Nearby Share to me looks like apps that Dell and HP at least make. HP is something called Quick Drop. It's a third-party app. You have to have it on your phone. You have to have it on your computer, and then you can do this kind of thing. You have, some photos or files or whatever they are on your phone, or vice versa, and you want to send them to the PC. So this interface kind of comes up. The nice thing about Nearby Share is that it's built into Android, right? At least I don't know if it debuted with Android 11 or 12 or whatever, but it's part of the platform. So it's just it's sort of like the share pane you get, and you choose probably literally is the share pane, and you choose Nearby Share. Your PC will show up as one of the targets, and you can send whatever it is you're looking at to that PC. It's good.
There it is.
So
I never knew about it. So there we go. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Well, of course, because it's not. What would you share it with? Like, Nearby Share requires someone to have like the newest Android phone on earth. Or you would have to have two of them. So, yes, but you have to have two. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have the other side of the equation.
Wait, couldn't you share with another Google device like a Nest or Google Home or no?
I don't know about those, but I mean, if you have a Chromebook and it's on the latest Chrome OS, you can do this now. I think this just happened. Okay. And the fact that they're bringing it to PCs is smart. And they did, it's interesting. This thing is one paragraph. It's like 3 sentences, but it did say, this is not the first time this has come up. Google is building for other platforms like Windows, whether it's in gaming, which they have a link for, and then productivity or other areas. When you go to that link, it's that Google Play Games on PC thing we talked about a month ago or whatever.
Week ago,
we don't know how it's going to work, but there's going to be select games or some games from the Google Play Store, which are Android apps, running on Windows. We're not working with Microsoft. Just being really clear about that. We're doing this on our own. Right. So it's like they've woken up to the fact. Well, I'm sure they've known this for a long time. Apple has the Mac. Google has Chromebooks, but Windows is the world, and so I think they're smart to do this. I don't like that they're not working with Microsoft. Microsoft would jump all over this, right?
No, you know what happened? Like we talked about, like that whole truce between Google and Microsoft ended, and they may have been negotiating all these different things to work with them, like on the games and on this Play Fair or whatever it's called, Play Share.
Yeah.
What's it called? Fair Play? No.
Fair Play? I don't think it was Fair Play. Fair Play was like a real audio thing from like 20 years ago.
No. Fast Pair. Sorry.
Fast Pair. Well, okay. So Windows PCs and Android devices, and I guess now Chromebooks do support Fast Pair. Fast Pair is, if you buy a Microsoft mouse
pairing,
and you just bring it close, it gives you a dialogue. You don't have to go into settings, connections, Bluetooth. You don't have to do that. It's just like fast. Do you want to connect? Yeah. I've only seen it with a mice, but I'm sure there are other devices.
It's Bluetooth LE, probably.
Like a headset, right?
Yeah, I think that's part. I think that's part of what it requires. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. And if you buy like Google headphones, earbuds, or whatever, you open the case. If you have a Pixel at least, and probably a newer Android device, you get that little shade that pops up. Do you want to connect this to this? Yeah, the answer is yes, of course I do.
Yeah.
It's just it's a nicety. It's the way the Apple ecosystem works. If you buy
got it.
AirPods and you open the case, you have an iPhone, boop, you're in. It's nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. If you say so.
I know.
Look,
Now I'm
I know
like,
as
now I
much
want to go
about
take my
earbuds as
Pixel
Mary
and
Jo
try
knows
it.
about hardware.
I'm like, now I got to go take my Pixel and see what I can connect to.
Actually, speaking of which, didn't you get like free what do you call them? Pixel Bud A series from your? So did you connect them to your phone? And did it?
No,
do
I
that?
gave them
It
to
must
my
have-
nephew.
Okay.
Come to think of it, I pre-ordered. I probably should. I just don't. Did I?
You should have
Do you get
gotten
an
them.
email? How does it work?
Yeah,
the email,
you get an email and you have to tell them, okay, I
think
want it.
I got to
And then
start
they
reading
ship.
my email. I think I'm probably missing out on a
do.
lot of things.
Yeah,
You got to choose.
they're
the
like
color.
worth $100, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got the
Green
I got the
or
ones.
white or something, right? Yeah, the green was
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, I like green.
Gotta check my email. Oh, they probably emailed my Gmail account. I don't even use that.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
That's probably why I missed it. It's probably too late now. Not that I care. I keep buying buds from various people, hoping that
Right.
Bluetooth
it
buds
solves the
will.
problem.
Yeah, and they're all terrible.
I know.
Universal.
I do the same thing. Yeah.
These got good reviews. I mean,
I liked
from
the
people who tried
Samsung.
them.
Oh, I like
buds
them. I actually
years
do like
ago.
them,
Right.
but they don't
Yeah.
have ANC.
Oh well, you don't.
I need buds I can wear in the gym where I can block out the stupidity from the gym, which is loud music and whatever else is going on. And they just don't. They sound great, but they don't have any noise cancellation.
Noise
so.
canceling. Yeah.
Is it from
They're good
Google's-
for walking around the world because then you can still hear other stuff.
Google Store that would send it to me?
Yeah, I got an email from the
store.google.com.
store.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, is the store? I'm sorry, that's the web
Yeah,
address.
store dot. No, yeah, but the email address, yeah.
It's probably a Google store.
Yeah. Okay. I'm
But
sorry. I
here,
didn't mean to
let me-
derail this.
No, it's
No,
okay.
no.
Everyone should have taken advantage of this.
All my email from the Google Store is from 2017.
You know what to search for is they're called
Pixel Buds. Is that what they're called?
Buds A series. Yeah,
Yeah.
A- series.
I'm sure I missed out.
So the email is
think
you
you
have
had
a
to get
Pixel
'em
Buds A series offer to redeem at Google Store.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You have to redeem by November 30. Sorry.
Oh, well, there you go. That's okay. I don't really care.
And by the way, what it says is thank you for your order of a test Google Pixel 6.
Oh, gosh.
Google. This is the
gosh.
quality
Oh,
level
Google.
we're all looking
Oh,
for.
Google. You know what I love? Completely parenthetically. Adobe's, have you seen these ads? It's mostly on the football games, the Adobe Experience ads. I guess they sell software to make better customer experiences, and they illustrate poor customer experiences. I'm sure
like when you
nobody
said, yeah.
watching the ads.
Hello, test. Thank you for joining us
exactly.
today.
I'm sure nobody watching the ads even knows what's going on. But
Right.
but I'm watching them going, yeah, I hate it when that happens. It's things like
Yeah.
that. It's
Well,
things like
Google sent me that email.
yeah, they need
Thank
it.
you for purchasing a test dash Pixel 6.
What? Come on. Does nobody even look at these? No. It's all run by Python.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very interested to see what Google does here because
Yeah.
you can't have enough integration between these platforms. I just, like I said, I just wish they were working with Microsoft on this stuff. It's stupid.
So you're keeping your Pixel 6, Mary Jo,
I am.
even
Yes.
though Google has apparently. Now, you never got the December update, so you never had to
No.
worry about your connectivity disappearing.
No, but I also never got the fingerprint reader fix, and it's so
Oh, you didn't
terrible.
get that one either. Yeah.
No.
So my theory is that might be because you're on Verizon.
Might be because she has no
Yeah.
fingerprints.
That could be
Right.
it too.
Hello, test. We noticed you don't have any fingerprints.
No, it might be because I'm on Verizon, and Verizon's like the gatekeeper, right, for that kind of stuff.
Maybe, yeah. My Pixel's on Google Fi.
Oh yeah.
But I still haven't. They,
should just.
they finally admitted that, oh, yeah, that December update.
Yeah,
Yeah, 3 weeks later,
Screwed
they
everybody.
admitted.
I know.
So-
After they promised it, and then it never came.
So I still have a Pixel 5a. So when they released the December update, the second they announced it, I checked and I got the update.
Oh, you did get it.
Oh, man.
Yep, the other day.
sorry.
You got it on the 5?
On the 5A.
Oh.
Yeah. So on
the
the
6.
January update just came out. checked it, got that update too. Now, granted, it's a 5A, so it took like an hour to install, but I got it. On the 6A, the 6 Pro, so I'm still on, like you are, November 5th.
I'm on the November 5th. Yep. I'm looking at right now.
Same.
Yep, me too.
Me too.
But we're glad because
I guess
they say it'll be later
calls,
this month, right?
We're glad. I assume they're going to be delivered together. Now, I assume further that these security updates are cumulative.
Yes.
But the thing is, there's really 3 things that you're not getting, and this is what kind of bugs me about this. There's like security updates. There are Pixel 6 specific updates, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the December feature drop for Pixel, which is a completely separate thing. And you didn't get any of those. Like you didn't get any of it. And you can't. It's like you can't separate this stuff out. Well, we've talked about this from time to time. For all the criticism that Microsoft gets, and for all the valid criticism, I think, of the Windows as a service stuff, the one thing they've done is they've created a really amazing update service for Windows, where you could buy a PC that was made in June, has been sitting in that box until December, and then you turn it on for the first time, and you have like 3 downloads. It's nothing because all the updates that have happened in the interim are all cumulative. It's super easy to keep a Windows PC up to date. You don't have to worry if that thing was sitting in a closet for 2 years. You bring it doesn't matter. Windows 7, you'd still be installing those updates like a week later, but with Windows 10 and now 11, that stuff is much better. But if you install an update on iOS or Android, I don't know. What are they doing? It's like, do you touch every bit in the phone? Like
I think they do actually. I think it's because if you look at the size.
I'm sorry, but that's antiquated.
Multi-gigabyte. Yeah, they don't do Delta.
Well, no, that January update was it was either 300 something or 330 megabytes. It was small.
That's just the Delta.
But it took an hour.
Yeah, there's some weird thing that happens with Android where it goes through every app and recompiles the
right.
preload.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's ridiculous.
iOS always or Mac always did this in the past as well. I don't know if they still do that.
Precompile. Hey, you want to see some chilling video?
I do.
This is the doors at CES just opened. Well, a couple hours ago, and here's
the doors are back.
They have doors. No. And here's the video from CNET from the hall as CES opened this morning.
These idiots.
Oh, that's chilling.
This is like our planet failing an intelligent test.
I can see the Omicron just floating in the air. They're all wearing masks though.
Yeah, it's like the way you can see heat on really humid days.
Yeah. God, it's doesn't look that much less crowded than usual.
Are they going to a funeral? They look like they're going into like a gas chamber. That's crazy.
Oh, that's terrible, but it does kind of look like that.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
No one's pumping their fist here. Like this is not an excited looking crowd.
They're sad. There are a couple people doing the thumbs up, but the rest of them realize what they're heading into, and it's not good.
No, they don't. Jeez.
Oh, boy. That's the central hall. Right through there is the best part of CES, usually. The big TV, Panasonic with the TV waterfall wall. I don't know what it looks like. But
to me, the best part was always when I left.
Yeah. I was just going to say, there was no good part, was there?
Some good restaurants in Vegas, for sure.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Anyway, thanks to Scooter X who posted that in our Discord. So we can
God.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been to CES in 5 years now, maybe.
I haven't been in like a decade.
We went in 2020.
2020.
Which,
it was the last CES. That's
right.
My last.
That's right.
CES. Speaking of phones, have you now? A little bird tells me, Paul, you threw your Pixel 6 in the ocean.
No. I'm still deciding what to do with it.
He wants to.
I saw this report that Pixel 6 displays are starting to crack for no reason.
Oh, boy.
And I thought to myself, I should just sell this thing right now. This is before anything else happens to it. I kind of want to see this update. I really want to know if it fixes enough of the problems where this thing becomes a little less iffy.
I haven't had any problems. I love my Pixel 6, but it really does hit or miss. Some people have and some people don't.
I switched to an iPhone, and the incredible lack of drama on this phone is notable.
No, there's no drama. It just works.
Look, there's little things. It's goofy that they use Lightning still. That's stupid. The notch doesn't make any sense to me. But these are not, at least for me, deal breakers. I think if you were doing like 4K cinema, whatever they call the ProRes video, and you had to off put that thing at USB 2 speeds, you probably want to murder somebody, but compared to the problems I had with the Pixel, and by the way, being honest with myself, because I really like the idea of Pixel. Of course I do. I think I've had a problem with every single Pixel I've ever owned. And I've owned every single Pixel they've ever made, except for one model. But I bought a Pixel. I bought at least one Pixel every year. And the year that they've had 2 Pixels, I bought 2 Pixels every year.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've given it the college try, whatever you want to call it. It's not like you can't tell me I haven't tried. But man, it's like, why do I keep punching myself in the face?
No, this is my 3rd Pixel. I got the 2, the 3 XL, and this. And this is the first time I've been really frustrated with the Pixel.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. Aunt Pruitt's just hating his.
I'm just bummed out about the fingerprint thing. It's just
right.
unbelievable.
That makes me sad because this has been figured out and it's Google and come on.
And then they lied and said it was a security thing. Come on.
Yeah.
Mine works fine, by the way.
It does?
By the way, but this is exactly a conversation you have with people. You either you say that it doesn't work, and someone's like, "Oh my God, you're exactly right," and then the other person is like, "What are you talking about?"
Well, there must be hardware differences. That's all I can say.
I wonder about that. Like which batch of phones you got, or
I think you
how
get
early?
used to it, or like you have to hold down a little longer than you want.
Yeah,
in the
but it's
beginning,
giving you
used to
haptic
it.
feedback. So there's
I just signed into mine immediately, so like that worked fine.
Yeah.
I never have it work on the first try, ever. It never has.
I hold it there. You're right. I mean, that's the only
But here's the
drawback.
thing.
You have
So
to kind of hold it for a half a second, but it works.
when you say like it's never worked the first time ever, and then Leo says it usually works the first time, I'm in the middle, and to me, that's exactly where I don't want technology to be.
No, it's got to be
Right.
consistent. I agree.
Yeah, the middle is inconsistent, and that was what drives me crazy.
But mine's consistent. It always works.
Yeah,
Unless I miss the target or I don't hold it on long enough like that. But if
the one thing Mary Jo, the one thing I'll say, you might not feel comfortable doing this, but I bought the Google case, which I hate, and I found a slimline case. And I have to say, because this phone is so big and bulky, that actually makes a huge difference. It's still big and bulky, obviously, but the Google case really kind of adds on to that problem.
This is similar to the Google case, but it's $9, and it's just that TPU plastic.
Yeah, sure.
And it's the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I had the Google case because Jason Howell lent me his, and so I had it for a while.
Well,
Actually,
you have to get a case, right?
You have to.
When these things
because
come
of
out,
the
that's
bump.
pretty much the only choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Google's, I ordered it, but I won't get it till next month.
Oh, they're terrible. I would just say no to it. Just forget it. The Google cases are awful.
Sorry, I'm not sure if you're talking to me, it says. It wasn't.
Yeah. But I'm going to hold on. I have faith that this update is going to fix it because I like the phone otherwise. I've gotten used to it.
I would like it to be smaller, which I don't think they can fix with software.
I'd like it to be lighter. It's heavy.
Yeah.
So is the iPhone.
Well, that's why
people are complaining about the iPhone being heavy. There's more battery. I think the iPhone's marginally heavier, really.
Yeah, the iPhone, the Max version is for sure. It is heavier. It's thicker too.
Yeah.
Those things are really dense. But I had tested, I don't know when it was anymore, sometime last year, like a Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. That's big and heavy too, like these phones are just, but the thing is, like, I don't like, every phone does it different and every phone does it different year to year. But Apple this past year, and maybe for the first time, the Pro and the Pro Max both have the same cameras. I love that because they can choose the size. But with the Pixel, the smaller one isn't that much smaller, but it has a worse camera. So I'd rather I want the good camera, but the smaller size. And they don't offer that. And I don't understand why.
I thought they were the
quality,
same camera. They're not.
No.
Wow.
No, there's a telephoto.
There's one extra lens. You get an extra one.
Yeah. But I think isn't there a difference on the,
There might be.
the selfie camera is different too.
Yeah.
The selfie camera on the normal 6, I think, is the one from the 5.
I never take selfies, so I don't care.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
What about Samsung? What about this new S9?
I don't
so
like
there
the
was-
ecosystem. You have to buy into this whole extra level of stuff.
Yeah.
I did. So, by the way, just because you mentioned Samsung, the computer I'm actually using right now is a loaner. It's from Samsung, and it's an Evo PC. It's a I think it's a 14 something screen. It's actually 16 by 9, which is whatever, but it's a beautiful computer in many ways, like their phones. But then it has this thing that came with more crapware than I have ever seen. It came with more crapware than every PC I reviewed this year combined.
Yeah,
it's Samsung. It's crazy, right?
Did it come with the new Norton Bitcoin generator or ETH generator? Did you see that? Norton is now shipping a Ethereum coin miner with Norton 360, and they take a 15% cut of anything you generate.
Well,
I mean, Norton's notorious for slowing everything down, but let's really make it bad.
Will Norton protect you from the COVID thing? Because I would consider it.
No, it's horrible. Can't believe it.
But here's something I don't think I've ever experienced. Of course, I move between computers a lot, so maybe this has happened. I don't know when or how this happened, but to get rid of the Samsung crap, I took a Windows 11 ISO I downloaded from Microsoft, and I just blew it away. And the thing came up, a couple of passes with Windows Update, clean device manager. I thought I'm done. Good. So I'm using it. Everything's great. No Samsung junk. A couple of days later, a bunch of Samsung crap appeared on this computer.
Yep.
And I am really curious how that happened, right? So it's not the whole selection, but it downloaded some stuff you could and would want, like the Dolby Access app, the Intel Graphics Command Center. But there's like Samsung apps on this phone as well. Samsung Bluetooth Sync, Samsung Security, Samsung Settings, and then a few that don't have Samsung on the front. And it's like, how? I need to figure out how that works. That's interesting.
Secret overnight update.
Yeah, I mean, there must be. These are. I don't know how they were delivered. I'm going to assume it was through the store, because they're apps, But that's interesting. There's something about the computer that it phones home somehow, and it delivers these Samsung apps.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can. That's why that's the only reason I'm really against Samsung, because I'm like, I don't need all this layer of extra stuff I have to go through to be in your ecosystem, right?
They do have good camera systems, but again, you have to buy the really big one to get the best camera, and that phone costs, if I'm not mistaken, $1,400.
$1,000. Yeah.
Oh, well over $1,000. So
also, the color, the way that they render color in their photos, I don't really care for. Like, I feel like they oversaturate color, right?
Yeah. Some people really like that. Obviously,
I don't like that. Yeah, but
the iPhone has a feature.
I like the pixel camera.
I do too. No, I do. I'm with you 100%. There's a feature in the camera of the iPhone app that lets you. It's sort of like filters, but they're permanent. Yeah. And you could say they don't call them this, but one of them is obviously Pixel, and one of them is obviously Samsung. And the Samsung one is overly saturated. And if that's what you want, you
can have it.
they'll let you do that. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think Google landed in the right place for, I don't know, hyperrealism. It's just a little north of real, just a little bit of pop or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Samsung is HDR fantasy land. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Okay. Oh, and then I should say, so there were two other phone announcements at the show. Samsung, I don't know why this thing didn't come out 6 months ago, but they announced an S21 FE for Fan Edition. This is basically a plastic low-cast version of the S21. 3 lenses, though. I think they're all 12 to 10 megapixels, wide, ultra-wide, and telephoto 3X optical, I think. And then OnePlus, this is the one that's maybe more interesting to me, kind of previewed. They didn't really announce or release, but the OnePlus 10 Pro, which has those Hasselblad triple camera system, looks beautiful. They're going to launch that one in China first. They haven't announced the pricing, but this is, I think, the first, just in the same way that Lenovo Z series is the first Microsoft Pluton-based PC. The OnePlus 10 Pro is the first Samsung, what are they calling it? Not Samsung, sorry. Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 or whatever the new naming scheme is. They're going to have that processor like all new phones from here on out will have. The Samsung S21 FE still has the 888 from last year.
Boy, we just did a whole segment on phones.
Yep. I know, we did.
It wasn't a lot
Microsoft doesn't even make a phone.
Well, wait a minute.
Now
they make
now we'll
something
move on to smart TVs.
like a phone,
Yeah.
Do you miss your
Which
Duo
is-
after all of the woes?
Nope.
No.
No.
In fact, they're not putting Android 11 on it after all.
That's
Did you
amazing.
see that? Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, they missed the date, but they said it's coming in
Someday.
the next few weeks.
Someday.
Next few weeks.
It was supposed
It's
to come
be
last year.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, your Pixel 6 is 12. You know, I mean, come on.
Yeah. Right.
I've been very happy with the Pixel 6, but I know many
good.
are not. But there you go.
I'm mostly happy with it.
Yeah, and you're
mostly.
right about the camera.
Here's my problem with this. I was predisposed to love this thing.
Right.
You were.
I really bet
So
big on
was
this
I.
thing.
So was I.
And I was willing to put up with some stuff. I mean, there's always something. And it's crushing to me that I don't like this better than I do. And I'd like to think that they're going to fix some of the stuff, which is why I'm still holding on to it. You never know. But again, I wish it was smaller. I wish it had a flat display instead of a curved display. I hate that.
Yeah.
I wish it charged faster. You know, in the first hour is pretty quick. Second hour is garbage. You know,
The good
like
news
that.
is it doesn't need a lot of charging for me, at least.
that's true.
Like I can go a couple days without charging.
It definitely lasts. Yeah. Well, certainly through a full day, you're good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel comfortable not charging it overnight, especially if I was going to go anywhere the next day. But
Yeah.
battery life is good. There's no problem there. I like Android 12. You know, I like the widget stuff they did. Mm-hmm. I just
Keep the faith, Paul. Don't become an iPhone user. That's all I'm going to say.
Look. The truth is, I test phones all year long, so I always move in and out anyway. But you know, I just need something I need something that
I know.
is going to work.
I know.
You know, there's all kinds of other
hear
little
you.
things I never talked about. The Bluetooth doesn't connect to my car with this. The iPhone works fine. You know, there's all kinds of small things, but it's just, I don't know. I feel like every generation I've put up with something with Pixel, and
It's
I don't know
kind
why
of
it took me so long.
ironic because the real argument for using Windows for years was, well, this is dominant, so everything's more likely to work with it. And now, ironically, it's shifted, and the iPhone is the dominant mobile platform. So everything works with it because everybody tests it with an iPhone.
Yeah, but you know what? There's so many differences between the iPhone and Windows. Obviously, iPhone is more of a lockdown ecosystem, which can get in the way for sure. It's not as bad as it used to be, but I have to say, the iPhone is reliable and stable and just kind of works in a way that I don't.
It's stodgy.
But I don't think most people would ever use those terms to describe Windows. You know what I mean?
No,
like
you're
Windows,
right. No, that's a good
Windows always had the application compatibility thing. That's huge. I like the UI. I mean, I use it a lot. I'm used to it. Obviously, I'm efficient using it. But I still have occasions where I'll go upstairs, work on a laptop on the bed or whatever. I pull this laptop out from the shelf and it's burning hot. It's like, the other day there was a laptop over here. I'm working on the computer, and in this here I can hear. And I'm like, what's going on? Is there a snake? No, it's a laptop. And it's sitting there closed. I don't know when I left it there, days ago, a week ago. I don't know. It's just hissing away. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, these are computers.
Computers. You know, it's amazing they're reliable at all. They're so, I mean, honestly.
It's a miracle. I've said that a million times.
Yeah, it's a miracle.
All the different configurations, all the software.
I feel like
the fact that these things boot up every day and work is a miracle.
It's like the James Webb Telescope opening up. You know, there's 600 things can go wrong at any
please
moment.
go. Yeah, please work. And then you hear the Windows startup sound.
Let's pause. Mm-hmm. Now we continue. Let's go back to Microsoft. How about that?
Why not?
What a thought.
Why not? Yeah, I'm curious if I don't know if you saw this story, what you think of this, but the Wall Street Mary Jo, that is. I mean, not that I'm not curious what Leo thinks. I mean, but I mean, I just because it kind of is your world. The Wall Street Journal did an article. It was really about how Google has kind of surged in the last year from a cloud computing perspective, and by surged, I mean they grew its share of the market by 1 percentage point last year. They are a distant third behind AWS and Microsoft. However, the salient statistic here is that, and this has to be by revenue, I suppose, because they're talking about market share, but AWS, Amazon Web Services, has 41% market share in the commercial cloud market compared to just 20% for Microsoft and 6% for Google. So,
Yeah. That sounds
most of the
believable.
story. Okay. Yeah. I'm curious. I always felt like Amazon had kind of a 2-to-1 lead. I'm just curious the gap hasn't shrunk.
Yeah, I know. Because for a while, so many Wall Street analysts were out there saying Microsoft's gaining on Amazon. They're getting closer. They're getting closer. In fact, we're predicting they're going to overtake AWS. And I'm like, where is this coming from? Look, no, wait, like where? Because Amazon seems to be steamrolling ahead. AWS is like a train, and Microsoft's doing really well with Azure, but they don't seem to be gaining on them. Like any credible analyst I talk to calls Azure a distant second in the enterprise cloud space. Like it's never they're gaining on them or they're catching up or they're 10 points away. No, it never is that. Right?
AWS.
The Google thing is interesting because the way Google is gaining, in my view, is they're watching what Microsoft does and they're totally copying it, especially around the enterprise.
If you didn't read the story, that's exactly what they said. that's
what we need to do.
What they said. Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly
because
right.
we're doing great with consumers, Google feels like, but we're not doing great the enterprise. And so we need more salespeople who understand the enterprise. We need to look at what is Microsoft doing that is so appealing to the enterprise. Let's do that. Okay. And it's working for them.
Yeah, I mean, they're so small that they can record big growth numbers. But they're still very distant there. So it's just that's how that works.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised. I think it would be really interesting if anyone ever could break out Azure and look at Azure versus AWS in an actual way,
like particular
other than just
workloads, maybe, or
because I get the feeling that what's different is AWS does more what they call infrastructure as a service, where you just take an app and you host it in their cloud. Microsoft is still trying to get people to do platform as a service, which means you re-architect or newly architect an app from scratch to be a cloud app and you build it for their cloud. And I think Microsoft's been more successful in that than Amazon has.
They have,
but
they're different businesses. I mean, Amazon is like a public service, like electricity or water.
Right. Exactly.
And then you do, your thing is on them.
Yeah. I mean, Microsoft still does that. Yeah,
that's
too.
True.
Right?
Of course. But Azure has, 1,117 services or whatever, and some of them are that. But, they want you to run Windows workloads in the cloud, Linux workloads, whatever it is.
They don't care. Microsoft is like, you run it on the OS you want. It's not just we'll put it on Windows Server. If you want to run it on Linux, sure, we'll put it on Linux. It's good.
I'm trying to think, from an outsider perspective, what the perception is of AWS versus Microsoft.
Oh, I think the perception is AWS is a no-brainer, and they don't think about anything else.
I think it also feels more agnostic, even though Microsoft says, we don't care. It doesn't have to be Windows. It feels more agnostic. It feels more like, no, it's just storage. It doesn't have any dog in that operating system hunt.
Every startup on earth, and they're not even startups anymore, these big internet services, it's always AWS,
Yeah.
Although the thing that will always help Microsoft is, as this becomes more and more important and bigger, you have to be on multiple clouds for redundancy purposes or backups or whatever it is. And Microsoft will be they'll always be the bridesmaid
the
in
other
this scenario, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's really interesting. I mean, I have to think it just comes down to kind of positioning and how people think of it. Because from a technical point of view, I don't think there's a difference, right? I mean,
you could look at they talk about like how many data centers they have in the world, or data center regions, or actual, you can kind of compare those things. You can, you can look at years of reliability and uptime, and I know. I don't know.
So AWS always had more services and more kinds of services because they were there, as the original cloud vendor. Microsoft just started saying, Microsoft did what Google is doing to Microsoft now, right? They looked at AWS and said, we need this, they have this, we need this, we need this, and we're going to put all these out there. And they basically said, we'll have everything AWS has, right? Yeah.
So, IT guy in Maine in IRRC says what I think is probably the prevalent point of view. I don't know if it's true anymore. AWS still has the scale. Azure is primarily appealing for taking the classic Microsoft stack online. That's kind of what I was saying. That's kind of the positioning.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But is it
Even
the
though
case?
the
Is
truth
it true?
is, right, you could take traditional Microsoft stack and put it on AWS. They're very interested to go after that
Yeah,
market.
you can.
And Microsoft does all the stuff that AWS does, probably, or at least most of it.
We use both.
But yeah, no, I think
but
that
for
view
our-
is correct.
For our web stuff, we use AWS. We use Azure because our sales system was written in Azure and .NET. So we use Azure for that. We're kind of agnostic. But I don't think that, and Russell, who makes that choice, I don't think he is, saying, well, let me see how many data centers AWS has compared to Microsoft. I think he's just saying, well, that's what Microsoft's for, and that's what AWS is for.
Yeah, and originally there was like a lot of price differential. Like AWS was cheaper, but then Microsoft started matching them on price. And anytime one would cut the price, the other one would cut the price. So that distinction went away.
So what could Microsoft do? I mean, there's an inherent problem, which is they make Windows. So people are always going to think, well, it's kind of for Windows. AWS doesn't have that problem.
Yeah. It's hard because I think the truth is both companies are going after exactly the same things.
Yes.
But that perception that
somebody in the IRC Web 7871 says Microsoft could catch up on AWS if they focused on security, because I think it's widely felt like, well, those S3 buckets, they always are getting breached. It's not that secure. Security is on you, I guess, is probably the perception. Whereas we could ask
Microsoft needs the PR win. I keep referencing this. I have to just mention this because it's so perfect. I've been going back through all these old Microsoft things from 20 years ago for the series I'm working on. I'll talk about that later. But PDC 2000 opens up with Bill Gates saying, well, the last day keynote, he does the vision keynote. He says, we don't get a lot of press attention for .NET because it's this infrastructure. Like who cares? How am I going to get the press to write about garbage collection? And then he says, I got to thank Oracle because they had this major, screw up because they didn't do garbage collection.
Yeah.
And he's like, they put it right in the news. And I'm here to tell you, we have garbage collection. But yeah, I mean, this it's funny. Like what Microsoft needs really is some high profile security problems to occur with AWS, because then they can say, hey, by the way, we've solved this problem.
Yeah.
That's not a great way to market yourself, though, is to wait for the other guy to stumble and fall. And then
it's like an ambulance chaser of cloud services,
There were a bunch of AWS outages right at the end of last year, back to back. So that didn't look good. But what Microsoft hasn't been doing lately that they were doing a lot, like a year ago or so, was that when they would go after a customer, they'd say they'd say Amazon is going to compete with you in your business, so you should go with us instead, right? Like if you're in the automobile industry or whatever, like, hey, they're going to compete with you, right? So we're not.
Partner.
So why don't you go with us? Exactly. They haven't been saying that as much lately, but I'm sure, I would bet when they go in to call on a customer, they're like, hey, psst, you know what? They're in the grocery business.
My marketing tagline would be like, if Amazon Basics is good enough for you, yes, you should choose AWS. But if you want the real thing,
it's an interesting
so that didn't surprise
problem.
me.
It's kind of an interesting, case study.
Yep.
It is.
Because I don't think there's any technical reason Microsoft couldn't compete with Amazon.
Well, it's just, again, the kind of Amazon's been doing it longer. They've got more experience doing it with more customers. They've got, I can't think right off the top of my head of something like Amazon has this and Microsoft doesn't have it. In fact, you could say the opposite. Like Microsoft has also the Office suite and the software as a service products like Dynamics, and Amazon doesn't really play in those spaces, right? Like they have Chime, but nobody even knows what that is. So, Microsoft has more breadth.
But that's the point. That's
then why
the
isn't Google stronger, right? Google does have all of those.
Yeah.
And Google's a weak, distant third.
They are.
You know what, though?
Because
Google we know what Google is.
They didn't care about the enterprise, right?
Yeah. And we know, right. If you're an enterprise, you're going to go with Microsoft.
Well, but wait, we use Google. Used to be G Suite. Now it's Workspace.
Yeah. No, by the way, that's true. A lot of
smaller
businesses are going to go through the Google
smaller
products.
SMBs.
Yeah.
But you know what? Google has a really rich history of killing things.
Yeah, they're just
and I think when you get to this part of the market,
trust them. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to find out their whatever S3 storage type thing is going away because blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Like you want it to just sit there and work.
You don't even know the name of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Whatever that thing they do.
Because there are a million of them. I mean,
right. No,
that's
pretty funny.
I have some kind of S3 Glacier something. Who cares? But Amazon's going to leave that thing sitting there running forever. and so is Microsoft. And I think they're just a little, it's weird that Amazon is trusted in this way, but AWS came out of Amazon needing this themselves. And I think that's how a lot of the early Microsoft stuff happened too. It's like, what do we need?
It is.
When they make these products because they need them, And so I think there's almost like a synergy there, like where, because Amazon was kind of born on the internet, they kind of got the stuff they needed to scale their own business, and they can supply that to other businesses.
Yeah,
that's why they got there first.
Mm-hmm.
It's academic, but it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, the perception is real.
By the way, are you enjoying December 36th? It's been a nice day, isn't it? Yeah.
No, I used Gmail for email, so that didn't impact me.
Security Now's title was December 33rd because they were talking about the Exchange server FIPS FS YK22 bug.
Yep.
And Microsoft's fix was hysterical, which is that they just never ended 2021.
Yep.
It's a little PowerShell script, and now so it's December 36th, 2021 in Microsoft land.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That wasn't fun if you were an admin over the holiday weekend.
No,
right?
on New Year's Day, right? All of a sudden, you got the worst hangover of your life, and you got to go in because for some reason the mail's not going through.
Yeah. So there has been an emergency
gift.
fix, at least.
Yeah, but that's the funny thing is the fix.
Yeah. A PowerShell script, right? Basically.
Yep. That says, okay, well, we're just, because if you want to hear the gory details, Steve does it in Security Now this week.
I'm sure.
Just fascinating. Just fascinating.
Yeah.
And he says, this goes back so far that probably the guy who wrote this, who did this it was a clever, hack, of course. In a 32-bit integer, you could represent a easily calculable versioning system for Exchange that broke in the year 2022. He probably wrote it in 2020, figuring.
Yeah.
And I said, well, do you think he's still around? He said, no, he cashed his stock in. He's enjoying life and probably going, oh, I should have thought of that.
Yeah. Yep. I have two interesting tidbits to bring up in this conversation about Exchange. So one is this hit Exchange 2016 and 2019, the on-premises versions, right? So there's supposed to be another version of Exchange coming on premises. It was supposed to be last year. Another one of these products that Microsoft did was supposed to be out last year, but it didn't ever show up.
They probably couldn't release it because the date bug. They were going to call it 2022, and they're like, I don't know, I just won't compile.
Exactly. No, so I asked them, I'm like, so whatever happened to that thing? Like, you're still doing it, right? And they said, oh, yeah, it's coming. It's just going to be sometime in 2022. So this is going to be a version of Exchange, just like the SharePoint server that came out last year, which is going to require you to have a subscription, even though it's on premises. So the subscription will give you the security updates and all your fixes. And it's not something you can avoid. You have to take the subscription or you won't get the on-premises product. So that should be, that Exchange version should be out and testing pretty soon, I would think. And then the other weird thing I noticed when I went back and looked at this bug is there was a little short blog post from Microsoft, like in the middle of December when nobody was looking at the blogs. And it said, oh, by the way, we're not going to release the Exchange server cumulative updates in December. We've decided to postpone them. So there were no cumulative updates with patches and fixes for Exchange that came out in December. I was like, oh, that's weird, right? And I wonder if it's connected. I have no idea if it has anything to do with what happened or if they could have patched it and prevented this from happening. But it's just kind of one of those things that make you go, right?
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
If you guys just moved to the cloud, all your problems would be solved.
Right? That's what they say.
Something.
They keep saying that.
Well, this might be the straw.
A lot of people are like, this is them trying to push me to the cloud. I'm like, so I don't think they're that Machiavellian.
I don't.
But yeah.
No, and that's dumb anyway, because when you have this kind of a bad experience, you might start looking at other cloud vendors.
That's
yeah,
right.
true.
That's right.
True. Very true.
I hope that wasn't the strategy.
And I'm hoping it was because of a hangover that the developer team tweeted.
Did you see this?
No, what happened?
So I want you to look at the source code. It's beautiful.
Okay.
I'm curious.
Okay, don't you think this was a joke, by the way, or do you think this was serious?
According to Scott Hanselman, it was tweeted by a marketing person. And it was, the reason I want Leo to look at this is,
so it's,
it's
a little JavaScript. If datetime.now.
So it's C# actually.
Oh, is it C#? All right. Yeah. So all these algol languages look the same. If
these are, they're .NET namespaces.
If
like
datetime.now.toString equals 1122, console write line, Happy New Year, else console write line, it's still 2021.
So I identified two problems with this immediately.
Okay.
Before I typed it in, but I'm curious if you looking at it, like, what do you see here that could be wrong?
Well, it's only going to work very briefly for one thing.
Right, for 1 second.
And then it's going back to 2022. 2021.
That's exactly right. If you happen to run it at the exact second,
instead of equals, you want greater than or equals. Right. Okay, so there's problem one.
There's one. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know what else.
Well, the other one is it's still 2021 because this thing will only be true at that 1 second.
One moment.
So
yes.
If you run it today,
forever.
It's 2022.
Right. It's going to be 2021.
But Scott Hanselman brought up a much more technical problem with this, which is this. This is beautiful because I just don't do datetime stuff. I didn't really think of this, but this is beautiful. They convert the date time to a string and then compare that. There are datetime comparison operators.
Oh yeah.
In functions, I should say, in .NET, you don't have to convert it. Like it's like you're comparing it to a string. That's stupid,
right?
And that is stupid. Right. It's really stupid.
Honestly, whoever did this, they weren't really. It's just they didn't intend anybody to run it.
That's what I think.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
But the problem is, no, you don't have to run it to know what's wrong. That's what's wrong. See, in other words, this was the Windows developer account. The people who follow these guys are developers.
Yeah.
Like you can't put bad code in a tweet.
A lot of people retweeted it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And they deleted it. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. I'm not trying to dump on these. Well, yeah, I guess I am. But I mean, it would have been so easy to get this right. So easy. Even I could write this code.
Yeah. Well, this is one of those bugs that jumps out at you because it's a common error. And
yeah.
And it's like, well,
I love the two-string thing. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't either.
You have to know what libraries
you have to know
routines are
exactly
available, but still.
But once I saw that, I was like, oh.
That's the kind of thing Hanselman would say. Why are you coercing it to a string? There's plenty of routines to do that. That's pretty funny.
So good.
Happy New Year from, it's over. Never mind. Back to 2021.
Just a blink and you missed it.
You know what? They could say, well, that's kind of was the inside joke. It's never, 2021 never stopped. Never ended. I love Scott Hanselman. He wrote an entire screed about what's wrong with this.
I was literally going to write my own version of this, and then I saw he did it, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll just let him.
Yeah.
He knows what he's talking about.
He did a 13-minute YouTube video on what exactly is wrong with his code. Little code review.
Yep.
Good from Scott. I love Scott. I think he's great.
I also just, for whatever it's worth, I put this in the Visual Studio before I realized he had done it as well. I was working on this. I am that much of an idiot. Yep.
And then, of course, the thread afterwards.
Oh, it's brutal.
Is so much fun.
If you like to be corrected, let me recommend Twitter.
Oh God!
There is no contention you can make. There's no statement you can make that no one will argue with. You could say it's the sky is blue, and someone will say not where I am, or whatever. Like it's if you like just to be confronted all the time.
Yeah, well, that's what Twitter's made,
Twitter is
made to do. Yeah, that's what it's for.
Yeah, it is.
That's a funny one. I like that. Probably the same guy who wrote the Exchange server versioning code.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly. It's that guy.
Now, for a very
it is the It is that same namespace he would be working
Could be.
in, right?
Could be.
yeah.
Yeah. Could be.
Oh, gosh.
I wouldn't normally bring this up on a Windows podcast, but for one brief shining moment, Apple was worth $3 trillion.
The reason I mentioned this is I think it was the New York Times, but one of the places I was reading about this said that Microsoft is expected to hit this milestone sometime in calendar year 2022.
Oh, neat.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the real takeaway is how big tech is, because that's a valuation. If you take the rest of the other top 10 companies that are non-tech,
well, you know what this is,
and add them all together, it's still not, they're worth
it's
more.
like market cap behaving like compound interest.
Yeah.
Like it took Apple, 40 something years to hit the first trillion,
Right.
2 years for the next one. And then like a year and a half.
Kind of amazing. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. No point in having market cap FOMO.
We're all going to get there. You look at the chart. I mean, Google, Amazon.
Oh yeah,
Microsoft.
All tech companies, though. I got to point out.
They're all they're all right up there. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. By the way, I think it fell back below 3 trillion.
Yeah. I think it
was
did
a temper, but I mean,
how
it's
close?
Not
what is Microsoft's market cap? How close?
If you look at my article, I stole an image from the New York Times that has a graph that shows you how close they are.
Very close. That's cool.
They're very close. They're over 2.5. They're somewhere there.
Ooh,
my article, if my site would ever come up.
Look at that peak. Look at that giant peak.
I know, it's like a skyscraper.
So there's Apple, there's Microsoft, there's Alphabet, 1.9 trillion, Amazon.
That Facebook is even on this chart is to me the most awful thing.
Well, they're not quite a trillion.
Yeah, they shouldn't even be a million, but there they are. Those evil bastards.
This is the stat I loved. It's worth more than Walmart, Disney, Netflix, Nike, Exxon, Coca-Cola, Comcast, Morgan Stanley, McDonald's, AT&T, Goldman Sachs, Boeing, IBM, and Ford combined.
Yeah.
Combined. Not individually. If you added them all together.
I know.
Wow. Worth more than Bitcoin.
Yeah. Good. At least they make stuff, I guess. I don't know.
All right. Moving right along. Let's do a little Xbox thing, and then we will open the lines and get calls from Discord and IRC, and you can ask Mary Jane and Mary Jo, and I don't know who Mary Jane is.
Whoever that is.
Mary Jo and Paul, anything you want about
Mary
any
Jane
subject.
and Archie.
Archie and Mary Jane are here. What's the Xbox news, Mr. Thurrott?
Yeah, there's actually not too much of it, given what's going on this week, and some of this is kind of competitor type stuff. But really early, sometime in December, early, Microsoft announced the games with gold titles for this month. Nothing great, honestly. None of them are of interest to me, but they continue doing that program, so that's fine. They also just the other day, I think yesterday, announced the first Xbox Game Pass titles for January. These are across console, PC, and cloud, meaning the xCloud, the cloud streaming service. And again, nothing really, honestly, kind of a small selection. I guess we're just coming out of the holidays. The one potentially interesting one for people might be Mass Effect Legendary Edition. That's kind of a big title. But I honestly, again, none of these really exciting. Just today, this is interesting. So Microsoft announced that Ubisoft's Rainbow Six Extraction is coming to all versions of Xbox Game Pass on the first day of availability. That's something that happens with a lot of first-party titles. The fact that it's happening with a third-party title from a game that's expected to be kind of a blockbuster is kind of a big deal. And Ubisoft announced that they're bringing their subscription service to Xbox. So they have something called Ubisoft Plus. It's $15 a month. It provides access to a lot, like over 100 of their games on PC only today. And these are the premium versions of the games, all the add-ons, all that stuff, day one releases. And then I don't know what the number is, but they also allow game streaming to all kinds of different devices from the cloud for some of those titles, but it's over 100. They're not on Xbox today. So that's coming to Xbox sometime soon. So that's kind of exciting. And again, for people that don't want to own games but want a huge selection of games, you have the hundreds of games that are already in Xbox Game Pass. You have the EA Play stuff, which you get for free as part of Xbox Game Pass, and you can get the Ubisoft Plus stuff on Xbox soon. So that's actually pretty huge. So that's good. And then I think the last two, let me just look at, the last two are kind of competitive type stuff. Sony announced the second generation VR stuff that will go on PlayStation 5. So VR2, which is the headset, and VR2 Sense controller, which is the two controllers, single wire connected to the console. Now, I don't actually know how PlayStation VR worked before, but 110 degree field of view, foveated rendering, which I don't even know what that means, but is that good? Yeah. OLED displays, 4K resolution, 2000 by 2040 per eye. And frame rates 90 or 100 hertz. I assume that's dependent.
It's pretty fun. I think a lot of people who have PlayStations like the VR. It's an easy, accessible way to do it.
Yeah, and I'm surprised Microsoft is just ignoring this completely.
I am too. Maybe Kinect burned them so badly that they don't want to do it. Maybe,
and who knows? Maybe that Qualcomm thing will, cause something to happen on the Xbox side. I don't know. So anyway, that's coming later this year. They didn't announce availability or pricing, but again, I think this is a big differentiator for them compared to Xbox. And separately, I think this was before CS, but we'll call it part of CS. Samsung announced something called Samsung Gaming Hub, which is going to allow you to collect different game streaming services into a single interface on 2022 Samsung Smart TVs. So it's an app, right? But it's starting out with NVIDIA GeForce Now, Google Stadia, and Utomic. I don't even know what that is.
I think it's got to be Utomic.
Utomic. Yeah.
Utomic doesn't know.
Utomic. I don't know. So whatever that is. Okay. So whatever. But they talked how they were going to bring additional cloud gaming services to the platform in the future as well. Now, what other game streaming services are there? Amazon Luna, and then obviously Microsoft Cloud Gaming, Xbox Cloud Gaming. So I would assume we're going to hear an announcement about this because Microsoft wants to get the service on as many devices as possible sometime this year, related to some Xbox event or industry event, maybe E3 or whatever. So today it's only those services, but I do expect we will eventually see Microsoft in there, but not today.
Nice.
Yeah. That's it.
That's it? That's all she wrote?
Mary Jo, you're okay. You barely felt it.
It's not too bad. The pain is over. I would like to open the lines, as it were, the lines of communication between our fine audience and our chat rooms and the hosts. Now, I don't know how this works, so you'll just have to bear with us here, but I believe I can push this button. And then
Yep. Nothing has ever gone wrong.
Push the button.
I think if I push this, the show just disappears.
All right, so so it isn't as simple as pushing a button. I need to turn this knob. And
somewhere in the control room, someone is waving their hands wildly. Do not press that button.
And now, what do I do, John? Do I just say if you're in Discord, watching live, we're doing going Crazy to the open kids. Mic section. The open mic. Oh, I see. Open mic. You're in another voice channel. You want to switch? I am now. Open mic is now open, apparently. We also invite people in our IRC to join us. Am I in open mic now? There it is. Open mic. Okay, Anthony's in there. Kev's in there. Good. That's a good sign. And then in IRC, you just talk in the IRC. This is for people who are watching our live stream. Kevin, you might as well kick this off. Kevin Brewer from the UK. Hello, Kev. Oh, he's muted right now. Do I unmute him?
No, I'm unmuting now. Hello.
Oh, there he does it.
I'm here.
No one understands how any of this technology works. I'm glad you do, Kevin. Thank you.
Just a quick question. I see that there may be a new media player coming out for Windows 11. Is there any more details on that?
No, I mean, no more. This is the first we heard, but yeah, there is a new media player coming. I think it is seen as a Windows media player replacement.
Yeah,
It's
replacing
replacing
Groove, right?
It looks like Groove to me. I mean, it looks like the Groove
Yeah.
interface, but it's going to also support videos, not just music.
Okay.
Great. Kevin, thank you for jumping into the fray. And
I mean, yeah, the world shuts down over the holidays, so I mean, I assume actually
I saw some
maybe it's happening
headlines
right
about
now.
it today. Yeah, I saw
did
something
you really?
about it today,
Oh.
starting to roll out to
Begin to roll out.
stable.
Oh, there you
nice.
go. Is this? I was
Yeah.
going to say they might have had a post about it.
Yeah, I don't know where I saw it, but I saw it quickly flip by.
No, the Windows Insider.
It's probably going to have rounded corners, right?
Yeah,
And it's
maybe it
gonna
was
have full-on
tweeted or something.
Icons, yeah.
Jeez, okay. It looks a lot like
Dark
Groove.
mode. Yeah.
thank you, Kevin. Great to see
You're very
you.
welcome.
How are things in? You're in Oxford, I think. Where are you?
No, Nottingham. Very cold. here at the
Nottingham.
moment.
That's right.
We're expecting snow tonight.
Oh my! Well,
Wow.
Stay warm.
Yes, I am.
We're going to go down the road just a little piece to Retcon 5, who is also joining us in our voice chat. Go ahead, Matt. Are you? Oh, he doesn't have a headset or something. I see that symbol. What does that mean? Means nothing. I don't know. Oh, there he's undone. He's undone it. Now he can
I was
hear
going
us.
to say
Go
you have
ahead.
the symbol too.
Go ahead, Retcon. Yeah, I'm muted intentionally. Are you there?
You need to unmute Retcom.
This is a little party. We're having a little party in the
Oh, my
Discord. Yeah,
So I can control my mic from here. You can't. How odd.
yeah. Well, I don't care. It's fine. How about Stoic? Go ahead. You can say something while Matthew figures out he's only an IT guy. Why would he know how to do that? Go ahead, Stoic. Is it me?
I mean, I could throw in a couple of extra Xbox stories. You guys are.
No.
Oh, please, somebody get a question on here.
There you go. Go ahead.
Please get the voice through.
What? What do I? Kevin's helping us. I don't know. What
Yeah,
to do.
it's the mute button on our controllers. So, Retcon, if you see down on your screen, there's a microphone next to the end call. You have to unmute that before you can speak to the studio.
I think Matthew knows how to do that. Stoic, you're unmuted, but I don't hear anything from you. Why don't you try saying something? Oh, this is just not going well.
Yeah.
This is just, I don't know what it is.
It's another great year.
This is the Discord, which is part of our Club Twit membership, which, by the way, went over 4,000 this year.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Which is really great. We're very, very pleased. We have a number of corporate members. I think 3 corporate memberships, which means a bunch of people.
Nice.
Right.
And we thank you all for your support. That's one of the benefits. You get to watch Discord not work for you. Actually, the Discord is really a lot of fun. We do a lot of things in there. We're going to have Andy Anako is going to do a AMA next week. Stacy does her book club in there. Next month, Mike Elgin and Amira Elgin will join us to talk about Gastronomad, of course, the GizFiz, the Untitled Linux show. There's lots of stuff in there. Matthew says he's restarting Discord, so we'll let him do that. How about Newman? Hello, Newman.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me okay?
We hear you. Great. Hi, Newman.
Excellent. So I had a question regarding Microsoft and their Android endeavors. Do you guys think they'll ever get the Duo right? Are they going to take another crack at it, or, I mean, do they have the resources dedicated to this?
They're going to do a Duo 3, aren't they, Mary Jo?
I bet they are. Yeah, I'm guessing they will because, and the reason I say that is I was just looking today at all the resources they've got up on docs.microsoft.com for developers for the Duo. And I'm like, they're not going to just keep pouring money into that and people into that if they're just going to drop it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I really
And
hope
you
they
know
get
them.
it right because I love the hardware.
Yeah, it takes 3 tries for Microsoft to come up with a product that's pretty good. It's not
Okay,
even a joke anymore. It's real.
It's really
So-
become written in stone. Yeah.
It has.
Yeah, it really is.
Okay.
So
I'll
maybe
give Duo 3
version
another look.
3.
Newman, do you have one? Did you own one or did you just think about it?
No, I tried the Duo 1 and I returned it.
Yep.
Pretty much what you guys did, right?
Yep.
As I
Yep.
recall.
Yeah.
I just the hardware concept I really like. I know Paul
Me too.
doesn't really agree, but
I love
I
the
like
idea.
I see myself using that. you know?
Yeah.
I don't think less
need
of
to
you
figure out
because
the
we
software.
disagree. I
No, I think 9 out of 10
appreciate
barn owls like the Duo 3, the Duo 2, I believe. Are you a barn owl? What are you? Exactly?
I'm not sure what I am. A friend of mine did that.
He's
It was kind of
a bird of some kind. It looks like an owl. Anyway, thank you for participating. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
I really like Club Twit. I'm glad.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for joining. I'm really grateful. Yeah, to all of our members.
right.
Yeah.
Hey, Leo.
Take care, guys.
Oh, is that Matthew?
Redcon 5.
I'm sorry. It's
all right.
Redcon 5. Speak up now. Turn your volume up all the way. You're a little quiet. Hello, Redcon 5.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was using Voice Meter on this particular computer, and Voice Meter does all kinds of stuff under the hood for routing
It's
your
a
audio,
nightmare.
and it really messes up.
Yeah.
If I was on my other rig on my Mac, I would be using Sound Devices, a MixPre 6 as my actual
Nice.
audio interface.
Fancy.
And I went out and got a Heil microphone as well.
Are you planning on doing a podcast, Redcon, or?
I just record sometimes. I play around with voiceover.
Nice.
was going to say, you sound
Things like
really
that.
clean.
Yeah, the sound is good. It's
this
low.
is
It's still low. If you could boost it a little bit
Yeah.
more, that'd be great. We can't get it. You're turned all the way up on my board.
I will do that right now. How about now?
Nice. Yeah.
Okay. I'm using this is my lesser rig, but I'm using a Sennheiser wired headphone, gaming headphone.
Yeah. The sound quality is good.
That
Yeah.
sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, I really enjoy the show, and thanks, Paul and Mary Jo, and it's been fun to be. I think I've been watching you guys for going on 3 years now or more.
Oh,
Wow.
So,
thank you. I'm so sorry, but thank you.
so I want to try out your version of Notepad.
Okay.
Paul.
Yeah. Where can you get
All right,
that?
so that's going to happen very soon. So I keep alluding to this, but I restarted started working again on my programming Windows series on my site, and attached to that is I had put, I think there are 4 different versions of the app up in GitHub, but I've never made it available to the public. And with each of them, when you bring them down into Visual Studio, there's a couple little things you have to do to make them work right. So I'm going to write about that, and then I'm going to fix them, and I'll update the WinForms and the WPF versions to .NET 6, and then I'm going to post them to GitHub, and I'll make that public. So that's going to happen. It will be this month, a short version.
That's fantastic. Great news. I mean, I'm a big fan of Notepad++.
Yeah, it's not that sophisticated, but originally I just wanted to duplicate Notepad, and I think I pretty much did. But the WPF version in particular has some stuff that's not a Notepad, which I think is kind of cool, like themes and autosave. And then the UWP version is just weird because it's UWP, but it's kind of cool looking. It's not it's not as efficient as the desktop versions, but anyway,
Well,
it will be this month. It'll be this month.
I'm sure you'll have a lot of happy testers and get a lot of feedback from
and
the crew.
people who actually know how to code that can fix it or make it better, for sure.
I think Redcon does some
.NET.
coding. Are you a .NET? Have you done some .NET stuff?
I've done a little bit in .NET. I actually use the PowerShell code more, which has almost all the same analogous, I guess, syntax and parameters and modules.
You could hit that
but
date.
I don't
that
really
date time
I don't really-
namespaces in there somewhere for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna try to make a one-liner.
Right.
I was gonna try to write a one-liner that would do better than the guy who.
I
was
think you easily
checking for
could.
Instant.
Yep.
And I guess maybe this is how it's done in Microsoft land, but those braces sitting alone on a line, it just bugged the hell out of me. It's like you're wasting so much space. Maybe that's how they do it in C# land, but
It is.
Yeah,
It is how they
I
do
don't
it.
like it.
Yeah.
You know, in Lispland, we make all the parentheses together to keep the outsiders baffled. So it's good to talk to you,
Yeah.
Redcon 5.
Thank you for
Yes,
having me.
thank you.
Sorry that
No, that's fine.
I'm not that quick with the computer. It turns out.
You thought you were, didn't you? Yeah.
I didn't know I was going to be invited into this open mic. So
Yeah, we didn't really. Yeah, exactly. We're kind of, and we'll cut out the misfires. It'll all be fine.
But
No
the
one will know.
Good.
Discord is a lot of fun, and I would encourage anybody that's listening otherwise or in our IRC world to join up if they haven't, if they can.
You're in both IRC and Discord, and I have to say the animated GIFs that we get in the Discord really animate the conversation. They're a lot of fun. People take that very seriously. But the other side of Discord that I love, I mean, really is you can see on the left we have all sorts of topics that we cover. It's a great place. It's a community, where we can go in and hang out with like-minded people and talk about all sorts of interesting stuff. So I really like that. And we're very glad to have you as a part of it, Redcon 5. Thank you.
So you sound great.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much. I'm finishing up my lunch now, and I need to get back to work.
Back to work. I won't tell anybody where you work. I happen to know, but we won't mention the famous place
Thanks.
for which he does IT.
Oh, is he responsible for that exchange thing?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. A little PowerShell script here and there. You never know what's going to happen. Let me try
did
again.
mention PowerShell.
Let me try again and see if we can get Stoic to, because he seems to be there and he's making noise, but I don't actually hear anything.
Hear me now?
Ah, I hear you now. Go ahead, Stoic. Thank you for being patient with us.
I was wondering if anybody knew when Windows 8 Pro with LTE is going to be released. I keep on hearing 2022, but it's not tied down.
Oh, I like this. We can see you,
You mean
Stoic.
Surface?
He's
Surface
got
Pro.
video. How fun is that?
Surface 8 Pro.
Oh, look at that. He's also got a Duo. Oh,
Now he's just mocking me.
he's just mocking
He's
you.
got the black one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Look at that camera bump. That is massive. Holy cow. So
I love my
what's-
PC.
Surface Pro 8 with LTE. I didn't even know they had promised that. Is that a for
Yeah, they
sure
did.
thing? They
Yeah,
did?
they did.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's no date, and they,
Video on it, too.
I feel like there was at least one other Surface Pro device, I think, that they promised LTE and then never delivered it with one gen. If I'm
One
not
just came
mistaken.
out this week, though. Surface Go 3 with LTE just came
Yeah,
out.
no,
at
he means,
AT&T
but he wants
this week, right?
you want Pro 8.
I know. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Verizon's selling the Go 3, right? I think I saw that. Or maybe it was AT&T. Somebody.
AT&T, I think
AT&T,
is. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they haven't. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about it. This would have been the week, you'd think, right?
Stoic, where are
But
you?
no, they haven't.
Where are you located?
Clearwater, Florida.
Nice. How's the weather? Is it sunny and warm?
Yes, it is.
On my way.
How dare you?
How dare you? Hey, thanks for. I didn't
grew up in
realize.
Chicago, so I'm missing the cold weather.
Yeah.
You're a snowbird. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. I'm so glad you did video because I didn't realize we had that capability. So, anybody who wants to show their face in here, more than welcome.
Oh man, it's only a matter of time before we have like Snapchat type, facial coverings and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think. Do we have that kind of filters here? Can you make yourself a kitty cat? I don't think so. I think you have to do that. You'd have to do that
If you
locally.
can, I'm totally doing it. That's how the rest of this.
Thank you, Stoic. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody
Sorry.
else in the IRC as well? Don't forget, you can also type
I'm
a
not
question.
really a cat.
I'm not a cat, Your Honor. Not a cat. Or in the Discord. Just I don't know how. You don't have to raise your hand if you're in the Discord voice chat. I'll know you're there, and I can click on
I should
you.
ask Microsoft about the Surface Pro 8 with LTE.
Yeah.
See if I can figure it out.
They
We
make.
have nothing to share.
They don't
at
have a
this
Surface
time.
Pro with LTE at all. That's a little.
That's how
weird.
they're gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they did say it was coming.
JT in the IRC with a question, Paul. Will the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate ever stream PC versions of the games instead of only streaming the console version. He says, I love that the Stadia lets, Google's solution lets me use my keyboard and mouse, but Xbox streaming is almost entirely limited to the controller. Yeah,
that's a great question. I mean, we know that they're using Xbox Series X in the data centers. Right now, so game streaming, there's no reason this couldn't happen. Game streaming is a feature of Ultimate, right, which covers console and PC. I'd love to see that happen.
He does point out there are some Xbox games that let you use keyboard and mouse, but there's still the Xbox version of it. And so
it's I would guess that most people who stream games are probably using mobile devices, which is something I would never do. But of course, you can stream to a big TV, you can stream to a computer, and it's controller based. But they have never said anything about that. But I think that would be a logical expansion of the service. Sure, it's a good idea.
I want everybody to get comfortable with these AMAs because we would really love to do questions in every episode of Windows Weekly. In fact, of every episode of our shows. So the more of you who participate, the better. So thank you to all of our questioners, to Kev and Stoic and Retcon 5.
We should just call it Stump the Dopes.
Stump the Dopes. It's time. We'll get a little jingle made and everything. Time for Stump the Dopes. What is Pluton?
Is it a chip?
It's Mickey's dog.
Is it hardware? No one knows.
Right. Why are we talking about this?
All right. Put your foldables on stun because we are going to go to the back of the book right after this. Back of the book time. Let's see here. Start off with the Paul Thurrott and a little bit of a tip, the first tip of the new year.
So as I've alluded to several times throughout the show for some reason, and then one of the people asked me a question that led to this as well. I 2 years ago wrote a series called Programming Windows, which has over 50 articles in it, describing the history of Windows from the perspective of the developer stuff that was going on at the time. Because I think it's kind of an interesting angle on the history. And I kind of let it drop at the beginning of the .NET era, in part because I knew Richard Campbell was working on a .NET history book, and I didn't want to step all over that. But one of the other things I did, and it came up during that call, was I created actually 4 versions of a Notepad app, Windows Forms using Visual Basic, and then C#, and then WPF using C#, and then UWP with C#. As a way to familiarize myself with the more modern .NET era and beyond programming environments, because that's kind of when I dropped off the face of the earth from a programming perspective, and I wasn't super familiar with it. So all that stuff's coming back. So I've already written, I think, 3 articles this month, and every couple of days I'm going to post another one. I'll cover at least 15 years worth of stuff. It's not all about .NET. It's just the .NET era. Most of it's about Windows, but you have to kind of explain .NET, which is just a freaking disaster. Anyway, but Mary Jo, interestingly, you may know this. I mean, Richard Campbell has given a history of .NET speech many times, and a lot of them are recorded. And you and I both come up during these videos.
Really? Are you part of the history of .NET?
Yeah, and Mary Jo plays a much more prominent role, and you'll remember this better than I did. But I think it was Silverlight. It disappeared from PDC one year, and you asked Bob Muglia.
Oh man, did he bring this up in one of the videos?
Yeah. And Bob Muglia left Microsoft like 3 weeks later. And I think it was
you killed Bob Muglia.
Guys, this was one of the worst events of my career, like in many ways.
Okay. What happened?
No, what happened was, so Silverlight, which Microsoft was trying to position at one point as an alternative to Adobe Flash, right?
That's
like
right.
It was kind of that.
It was .NET for web browsers,
Yeah. So like Microsoft just stopped talking about it for a while. And I was doing an interview with Bob Muglia, who was like a big VP at the time, right? And I just said to him in the middle of the interview, so what's going on with Silverlight? And I guess he decided then and there, like, I'm going to tell Mary Jo what's happening.
He just blurted
And
it out. Yep.
He's like, yeah, so our whole strategy with Silverlight has shifted and we're not really doing that anymore and blah, blah, blah. So I went back to my hotel room and I was like, should I write this? Oh my God. And so I just sat there and typed the article and I posted it. And I came out of my hotel room and I went downstairs.
Do you remember what you called it? Like, what was the title, probably? Or
I don't know, but
roughly?
if you look up on Google, our strategy has shifted and Silverlight and my name, you will find this. Because when I came downstairs at the show, a guy saw me from Microsoft and he goes, "You've got to leave right now." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, leave the campus." I'm like, "Leave the campus?" And he goes, "Mary Jo, people are looking for you and I think they're going to hurt you. I think they're going to really hurt you."
God.
And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "No, I'm going to escort you off the campus right now," because people who had bet their whole careers on Silverlight, they thought I made it up and they thought I was trying to kill Silverlight. And I'm like, "No, I didn't make this up.
Wow.
He said it."
I love the kill the messenger mentality.
But wait a minute.
Yeah.
All right, so I found the article.
The punchline of this story is, do you know who replaced Bob Muglia?
Who did replace
A guy
Bob
named
Muglia?
Satya Nadella.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, yeah, right. For that division, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
here's
you
but
could
here's how
actually
great-
take credit
no,
for
wait.
the new CEO of Microsoft.
No, wait, I got to tell you this part, though. So when everybody started attacking me and sending me all these horrible messages, Bob Muglia sends me an email and he goes, "Wow, I see people are really going after you. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go public and say that you were right and I told you this." And he did.
Wow.
Well,
Good. You know what?
Like,
That's,
he's such a stand-up
I
guy,
wish so
That's
right?
stand-up.
people in his
That's
position
amazing.
Had this amount of credibility.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know.
God, we could use
and then he
this
got
little bit of
fired or
clarity.
left. I don't know what
Yeah,
happened
yeah,
like
yeah.
a couple weeks later.
I'm looking at his Wikipedia entry says, in October 2010, developers criticized Muglia for suggesting Microsoft would put less emphasis on Silverlight, a statement he later retracted.
No, he didn't retract
Yeah,
it.
I think that's an error.
So here's
Yeah.
what really happened. Why they killed it. Steve Jobs came out against Flash. Right. And Flash was the same sort of browser, thing, and it really killed your battery life and was really unreliable and horrible. It gave you all these additional features, and Silverlight was the exact same kind of plugin. So basically, Steve Jobs, by going after Adobe Flash, caused those types of things to die. They had to
be
kill it because no one was
disdained,
ever
right?
going to use. The other browsers were never going to support it.
No, I mean,
Guys,
look.
I'm like, my heart is pounding remembering this
I
because
bet.
it was so scary.
I
It
bet.
was so scary. Like, the guys took me off campus and they put me in a bus and they just were like, "Get out of here. Just leave.
Wow.
Get out."
You obviously had friends who didn't want you to see you hurt, although
Yeah.
but
I
the
didn't
real
mean to
people
bring
who
up-
were
I didn't think it was this
the,
dramatic.
the
I'm
real
sorry.
people who were upset was the developer community, which was developing for Silverlight.
Yeah.
Well, those guys have been
Right,
great to
'cause
me when I talked to them honestly about UWP. So I can't imagine
Oh,
why
yeah.
they would have behaved in this
Yeah.
way.
Didn't Netflix run on Silverlight?
Yeah. It did.
Yeah.
It did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, they had. By the way, there was an Olympics that ran on Silverlight. They streamed
I
the
know.
Olympics over Silverlight.
Yeah.
Whatever
Well,
year that was.
Your
horrible.
companion animal has come in to reassure you.
I know. He
to
heard that I was
bring
upset
the blood
and he
pressure
came over
down.
Yep.
Take
A
care
little
of
bit. Yeah.
Oh, that was just so bad. And Bob Muglia was such a great guy. Like, he's still around. He's,
Yeah.
then he
Yep.
became CEO of Snowflake or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
He's actually, I
so
think he's kind of retired now.
He has. I think
Yeah.
he's kind of retired now,
Yeah.
but yeah.
He's no Paul
Maybe
Merritt.
he's the
I'll tell you
guy.
that.
No, he's the guy who did the Exchange Y2K bug because he wanted to
I don't think
revenge.
he had anything to do with it.
Boy, don't start
used to
any more
miss-
rumors. You already killed him once, Mary Jo. Let's not.
I used to mistype his name as Bog Mublia all the time. It was some kind of weird typewritten.
From now on, to
problem
protect
for me.
his identity, let's use that as his code name in
Yep,
future conversations.
That's what it says on his
Guy-
passport.
Mob Buglia. A
No,
guy.
he was so much fun. Great guy.
and did he pronounce it Muglia or Mulia? Because it would be Mulia in
Muglia.
Italian.
Muglia.
Okay.
Bob Muglia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe he thought Mulia sounded too weird.
Mulia.
Mulia. Anyway, he did fine. He survived.
Yeah, he did
Yes.
great. And
Mary
I'm
Jo
still
is
here.
fine.
Everybody's
And
still
thanks
here.
to you, Satya Nadella had a job. And so all of that worked out for the best.
Silverlight, not so fine. But you know what?
Oh, you were
Things
right.
happen.
You were right.
Well, so
I just typed what he said.
Silverlight was used in Windows Phone, and obviously
Yeah.
after Windows Phone 7, they got rid of Silverlight and they went to I don't know what it was called, the Windows Phone 8. I don't know what was it called. I don't even know. Whatever, but
it has so many names, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make up a T-shirt that said, Mary Jo Foley killed Silverlight, and I'm going to sell it at the next PDC. I'm going to make $1 million.
Just put my head on the back with like a thing through it.
Just get an arrow that says, this person killed Silverlight, and stay next to her, and you're set. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, God.
That's good. I'm with the woman who killed
Silverlight.
Oh, God.
All right.
Oh, man.
So that will be part of your epic programming Windows series. I think, as I remember, you have to be a premium member at Thurrott.com, so this would be a good time to up your sub.
If you're non-premium, you can read 3 each month.
There is a New Year sale, though, so this is a good time if you're not yet a premium member. I believe I am. To get your premium subscription now. Thurrott.
I have spent the past few weeks living in the year 2000, and it is
not a good year.
Amazing. No, it's amazing.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's a mess.
It's a mess.
The Microsoft story is broken promises. Like .NET, everyone points to Longhorn. I do as well, as they promised all this stuff and they never delivered it. Mm-hmm. Go back and look at what they promised for .NET. By the way, within I think it was that year. I think the same year. I think within 3 or 4 months, it was a complete reorganization, and they fired the guy in charge of this stuff. They completely scaled back what they promised. .NET became a completely different thing. .NET originally was going to be a much bigger thing.
It was. And then every time I don't know if you remember this, anytime we reported on it, they're like, yeah, you just didn't understand what we said. We didn't scale it back. I'm like, no.
Oh, no, no.
You did.
They scaled it back dramatically.
And your story was really accurate, which was that HTML5 had kind of superseded it anyway.
Yeah.
And that's what that's
they always struggle with that. I wrote the final article in the series already, and it's called Microsoft Fought the Web and the Web Won.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's a good way to think of it. I think, and this is I don't think there's any blame devolving on Microsoft, because this is technology. Stuff is constantly changing.
This is just history. This is
exactly.
Just
the worst thing to do would be plant a flag and say, well, no, we said Silverlight's going to be big. We're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And go down that road. That's not what
it's astonishing how much has changed in the past 20 years. But the other thing, Bill Gates is a problematic individual. I think we can all agree to that. However, go back and just watch any one of his speeches. Watch PDC 2000. And listen to all the stuff he predicts that's going to happen. That is totally the way the world works now.
Yeah,
like stuff that just was not a thing then. It's astonishing how often he just talks about, just throws it out like this is what the world's going to be like.
And yet he missed the internet almost entirely and did a quick U-turn. I think though once he got that religion.
Oh, he got it big.
Was that The Road Ahead? Was that his book?
The Road Ahead was the book. Yeah, that came out in 1995, probably.
Yeah. And that was pretty accurate.
Well, except the original edition didn't talk about the internet that much.
Except for that thing about the internet.
Well, they quickly reissued. They released a service.
No one can update it.
No one knew.
They updated it.
It's a surprise to us all. Code name and app pick of
so Mary Jo
week.
Completely bogarted this for me without even asking. But that's fine, because I...
Hey, wait a minute. Here's what happened. I put this as the code name pick of the week, and then he stole it. But okay.
No, that's not what happened. This is how it appeared. No, it's fine. It's all good.
Well, who gets to do this?
Mary Jo gets to.
All right.
I can do it. So we're talking a lot on the show today about things that were supposed to show up last year that more likely are going to be this year. So here's another one, Project Monarch. Project Monarch is the code name for what's also called One Outlook. So Microsoft's redoing Outlook completely, right? They're trying to make it the same code on the web, on Windows, on Android, on iOS, and introduce this as one common version of Outlook. And it's mostly going to be like Outlook for the web, adapted to all these other platforms. So that was supposed to debut, at least in preview, in 2021, based on all the rumors. And it is being used inside Microsoft. Like they're dogfooding this right now in Microsoft. In fact, today I went up to the Monarch site because I know where it is, and I tried to gain access, and I got a nasty note from the SharePoint administrator said, no, you cannot have access. So yeah, it's being tested. They're not letting me test it, but it's being tested.
Did he mention Bob Muglia
And
at any point?
what I hear is this is going to be out this year. So I think we're going to hear about the preview of this very soon. Like I think this spring they're going to announce One Outlook, or maybe they're just going to call it Outlook probably, right? They're not going to call it One Outlook, but that's what it is. The revisiting and recoding of Outlook to make it common across all the platforms. And then the other part of the rumor was they're going to take out this One Outlook and they're going to replace the mail and the calendar app that are built into Windows that a lot of people don't like with this One Outlook. I think this could show up in the version of Windows 11 that's coming out this fall. It may not be finalized, but I think there may be an option for people who go on this version of Windows 11, whatever they call it, Windows 11 October update or H2 or whatever, and they'll have an option to try out this One Outlook built into Windows 11. So yeah, it's coming soon. TM.
TM.
There you go.
Trademark or PM, Project Monarch.
Project Monarch. Yep.
Yep. How about, as long as we're talking, an enterprise pick of the week?
Yeah. So it wasn't just a bad week for Exchange. It wasn't a great week for Windows Server and Windows 10 Enterprise either this week. There was a bug that some people were encountering where they couldn't use remote desktop to reach their server. And Microsoft today, in fact, released an out-of-band patch a week ahead of Patch Tuesday for Windows Server 2019, for Windows 10 version 1809, for x64 ARM and x86 systems. So if you're somebody who's been having this issue, go and look for this out-of-band patch. I don't know what caused that to happen. They just said it's a known issue that might prevent you from using remote desktop to reach your server, and the server may stop responding. So if you're having that, go look for the out-of-band patch.
Okay. Out-of-band patch. I am ready for a beer that tastes like a dessert.
Yes. So start of the year, you need a little celebratory beer.
Yes.
And I was home for the holidays this year visiting my mom in Framingham.
Aww.
And so there's a great craft brewery in Framingham called Jack's Abbey. They make a lot of delicious lagers primarily, although some ales as well. And they have their flagship beer is called Framinghammer, a nod to Framingham. It's a Baltic porter, so very heavy duty, big porter. This one I'm going to make my pick is 12%. Yeah. So they do all these different variants of Framinghammer, and this year they're doing a lot of dessert ones that are aged in bourbon barrels. The one that is my pick is called Salted Caramel Barrel Aged Framinghammer. If you like salted caramels, you will like this beer. It tastes chocolatey, caramely. I don't know how they do it, but they do some magic with the bourbon barrel and some magic with the Baltic porter. A little bit salty, but not very salty. And yeah, it's a true delicious dessert beer. One of the many special variants they do of this beer called Framinghammer.
I've heard of Jack's Abbey. It must be through you, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you've mentioned it before, I think.
I've done different Framinghammers before, I think, because they make so many different ones. But yeah, they're all delicious, pretty much.
Hunter Joe says they should call it Framinghammered.
Yeah, you'll be
12
hammered if you drink
ABV.
too many Framinghammers. Yes, you will. Yeah.
You know what? This was a fun show. I thought it went very well. Had a good time. It was very nice to get back in the saddle with Paul and Mary Jo, our first show of 2022. It's going to be a good year, I think. Lots of stuff to talk about. You'll find Mary Jo's writing. Who knows who's she going to behead next at Microsoft? It's very exciting. She writes for ZDNet at allaboutmicrosoft.com. Was that for ZDNet?
The developer parts even talk to you anymore.
That was a ZDNet article that you did.
Yeah, Micah posted it in the Discord, in fact, the actual article.
Yeah. We were showing it.
Yeah, I'm having a little PTSD on this one.
Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't realize it was that dramatic. I'm sorry.
It was very traumatic and very scary because it went on for a while. Everybody blaming me for them losing their lives.
Now you know how I feel about
Why
UWP.
would they blame you? That's literally
People
They're
always
like,
go
you
after the
killed
messenger.
it's
Silverlight.
shooting the messenger. That's just crazy.
I know.
That's just
I know.
crazy.
It was crazy.
Oh, don't worry, Mary Jo. These same people hate me now, so it's all good.
Yeah, that's excellent. I'm
11
glad to
years
pass those
later.
forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
12. Almost 12.
Oh, boy.
Allaboutmicrosoft.com. That's her home on the net. Paul Thurrott is at thurrott.com. Get the premium membership. You can read his history of Windows development. I really enjoyed the previous articles. I can't wait to see the new ones. THURROTT.com. The Field Guide to Windows 10 is available at leanpub.com and soon to be the Field Guide to Windows 11. Just a programming note. We are going to continue to talk about CES. Probably the next time will be this week on Twit on Sunday because Father Robert will join us. There was a little change in plans. One of our guests got COVID and couldn't join us, but Father Robert will be coming in, and he's also in Vegas. So who knows what's going to happen between now and Sunday. But I'm sure he took good precautions, and so we will do more CES coverage then as Robert comes back from Vegas. Amy Webb will also join us, and Kevin Rose. So it's going to be a good show on Sunday. Paul and Mary Jo will be back next Wednesday. We do Windows Weekly every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1900 UTC. You can watch us do it live at twit.tv/live. The IRC, where you can chat with people who are also watching the show live, is irc.twit.tv. Although it's open 24/7, there's always somebody in there talking, so it's a good place to go to make some friends. If you're a member of Club Twit, of course, you can also chat in our Discord. And Club Twit is at twit.tv/Club Twit if you'd like to know more about that. $7 a month gets you ad-free versions of all the shows, membership in the Discord, the Twit Plus feed. There's lots of benefits for our members, and we are very glad to have you. In fact, this show particularly because we had no advertisers, so you can thank Club Twit for putting this show on. This was their broadcast. If you want to get the show after the production, you can always download a copy from the website, twit.tv/WW. You can also get it on YouTube. There's a YouTube channel devoted to Windows Weekly. And, of course, probably the best thing to do is get a podcast player of some sort on your phone or PC and just subscribe to Windows Weekly. You'll get it automatically the minute it's available. And if your podcast player allows reviews, please leave us a 5-star review. Let us know what you think of the show. But please, 5 stars, okay? Okay.
I mean, be honest when you
be honest, but 5 stars, right? Okay, yeah.
I mean, we understand each other, right?
Yeah.
Honesty is fine.
Yeah, 5 stars, though. That's all I'm asking. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Mary Jo. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.
Have you ever read a tech news story and thought to yourself, man, I would love to talk to the person who wrote this to find out more information? Well, that's exactly what Micah Sargent and I, Jason Howell, do each and every week on Tech News Weekly. We read the stories that matter to us, we reach out to the people making a break in the tech news, and we invite them on to tell their story. And you can find it at twit.tv. Look for Tech News Weekly every Thursday.